nice to have that option. So this is the Boss DD3. It's an old pedal. It's an old pedal, probably 80s vintage. I own several of them, and I said for years, if I was going to go to a desert island and had one pedal to choose, it would be the Boss DD3 because it's really flexible. You can do a lot of things with it. You can use it to fatten your signal up. You can use it to do crazy echo stuff. So a lot of times we do typically 3 45-minute sets. And at the end of at least the second 2 45-minute sets, we usually end up with some sort of a jam. And there's a lot of times that we'll close with Pink Floyd or something crazy. And so sometimes I will, and when you're playing for a bunch of drunk people, and you walk off the stage with it doing that, they just go crazy. So,
can I ask?
Yes.
Tell us about the different dials you're doing. Obviously, when I'm the length of the
yes. Okay. So great question. So there are actually 4 dials here, and again, this is an older version. So over here, wrapped up in bubble wrap, I brought a lot of other pedals that I was going to just show you that I've used and tried, and some of them. Well, so I'm going to answer your question. I promise. Virtually everything I have up here, I bought used, and you can buy Boss pedals for $40 or $50 or $60 or $70. If you just watch closely, you can find them fairly inexpensively. So there are some pedals over here that do a lot more and that have lots of buttons and lots of knobs on them. I'm an old guy. I can't figure all that stuff out. So I want something simple. So I've tried all those fancy things with lots of switches. I've put them away, and I keep going back to my DD3 because it's really simple. So there are 4 buttons. There's an effect level, a feedback, a delay time, and then you've got several different modes. And I just keep it set on the longest mode, which is 800 milliseconds. It also has a hold that you can hold the sound if you want to while you stand on your pedal, but I use a freeze pedal for that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But just to give you an example of the effect level, let's see, I'll turn everything down to 9. Now I'm going to turn the effect level up to noon, and then to about 3 p.m. And what that does is basically it's how much of the pedal's signal comes into the sound. So at 9 o'clock, I've got basically 2/3 of it is dry harmonica coming through, and 1/3 of it is effect pedal. At noon, it's about half and half. So there's a little more effect in there, and if and all the way at 3 p.m. it's basically all effect pedal. Now I don't have anything else turned up, so you're not getting real drama when it happens. But if the second pedal is the feedback, which is the length of time that it echoes. So right now it's set at 9 o'clock, and I'm getting just slightly more than a slapback. I'm going to take it up to noon. Okay. Now I've still got the delay time set short, so the spacing of time before each repeat is still pretty quick. I'm going to take it now to about 3 o'clock on feedback. Okay, so you twist it to the right, it lasts longer. I'm going to turn the delay time up to about noon. So right now I've got everything at about noon, set at 12 o'clock. So there's a little more space between each delay. And if I can increase that a little bit more, this is at 3 o'clock on delay time. Now, one of the things, thank you for asking that, because one of the things, because it's an old pedal, it doesn't have a tap tempo on it. Now, a lot of pedals have a tap tempo button on them, where you can set the delay or whatever the effect is to the tempo of the song, and they're real easy. You just 1, 2, 3, and then it follows whatever the tempo of your song is. This does not, and there are a few songs there's a break in the middle of the song where I need this thing to echo at just the right amount of time, the right amount of spacing. And I just know where it is on this because we've been doing it for 8 years. So I know that when I do that, that feedback's got to go to about 1 o'clock. Yeah, and so I know where it is. That's one of the disadvantages to this being an old pedal without a lot of buttons on it. A tap tempo would be nice, but you adjust. I mean, I've used it enough that I'm comfortable with it and I understand what to do. Okay.
I got a question.
Yes.
When you start combining them, I know order is important. What is your preference in terms of doing reverb and delay or delay and reverb?
So pedal order is really important, and thank you again because that was in my notes to talk about pedal order. And since I forgot my notes, I can't remember all that stuff. Pedal order is pretty critical in this box. So actually, what I've found is that to my ear, delay and reverb probably doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I haven't found anything that was overwhelmingly positive or negative where I put those in the string. I typically try and put them. A lot of times I'll put reverb towards the beginning, and delay is one of the last things because it's repeating some of the other effects. There are some effects that are extremely sensitive to where you put them in the string, in the chain. And in this, again, this is the one, and I'll get to it in a minute, but this is the one that I use all the time. And the whammy pedal and the pog need to go. So these are the only pitch shifters that I have experience with. Maybe some of the others are not as sensitive, but these things want to be the first thing that your signal comes into. Because otherwise, the pitch that you're shifting gets modified by later pedals, and it doesn't shift pitches as correctly. So my experience with these two, which is the only, I've gone through several pogs, worked my way down to smaller and smaller down to the nano size. But they always, when I first got it, I just plugged it onto the end of, it may have been the end of this thing, and I thought, the first one that I got, and I thought, this thing's terrible. That's a horrible sound. What do people pay money for that? And then I started experimenting, started and put it at the first of the chain. That was it.
What about chorus? Would you put that before?
Yeah. So we had been talking before class, and for me, kind of I don't know. So I love Cajun cooking and onions and celery and peppers are sort of go into everything. And this is the onions and delay, chorus, and reverb are sort of the onion, celery, and pepper for me of sound. And I can and probably in this board I've got reverb first, chorus, and delay. Normally I think I actually had delay way down at the end. This box had been somewhat disassembled prior to this, so I kind of put it back together and just threw everything in there. But I'm not real sure on those three. I really don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference where you put them. And I will show you in a minute a new pedal down there on the end that I have discovered that may be my new deserted island pedal. Okay, all right. So let's move on. Since you mentioned chorus, let's talk about chorus for a minute. So I'm not sure how to explain chorus. It's almost like a tremolo, and you can speed it way up to where it almost does sound like a tremolo. I rarely do that. So on this old Boss pedal, you've got the same things: effect level, rate, depth, and then there's a filter. It's got a high gain and a low gain filter, and you can filter it a little bit.
I can help you explain what a chorus does.
Okay, yeah.
It takes your original sound, splits it, takes one of those sounds that it's split, and delays it slightly and detunes it a little bit.
Oh, just like a tremolo.
Well,
Just like
not
singers
quite,
in a
no.
chorus.
When he plays, it sounds like there's 3 or 4 harmonicas playing together.
It
And
does.
that's a chorus. It creates a chorus of the instrument that you're playing by the because no two instruments can be perfectly in tune, or voices.
Right.
So by detuning it, that's what fattens it up, making it sound like an accordion that has double reeds. You know, there's 2 beats for each note. That's why it sounds thicker like that. So,
Yeah, well, in a tremolo harmonica, you got the top.
oh,
row-
I
the
thought you
top
were talking about
row-
a tremolo pedal.
No, a tremolo
Yes.
is offset
Yeah.
from the
Right,
bottom
okay.
row.
Yeah.
You know,
I just-
yeah.
I thought you were talking about a tremolo
Yeah,
pedal.
you just put 2 reeds out of tune and they
Right.
make beat notes. That's
Right.
what
Right,
a
right,
tremolo.
right.
And that's what it
Yes.
does.
Tommy, if you would, repeat the question here so that those online can understand what you're answering.
I'm sorry, online folks. I forgot all about that. So, we were discussing how you describe what a chorus pedal does, and we had some expert advice here
Well,
on
not
the mechanics of how it actually works and what it does. So, okay, sorry, you may have to help me remember if I overlook that. Okay, I had said these were my 3 pedals, my 3 favorites, and if you use those 3 all together, so you can kind of hear that chorus that gives it almost a little bit of vibrato. But it really, those 3 together, reverb, chorus, and delay, really give you a lot of options. You can make a lot of sounds with just those 3 pedals. And, well, I'll save it for a minute, but deep inside this box over here, there's a big effects processor, an RP500. No, I think that's what it is. Yeah, RP500 Digitech. And, well, okay, I'm not going to, hang on, hold that thought. Okay, so there are 2 more pedals up here that we'll talk about. One of them is a flanger, which is it's sort of like a chorus. It's a modulation effect. So chorus, flanger, phaser, all of those are considered modulation effects. And flanger is that same type. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to explain what that does?
Well, it gets its name from on the old reel-to-reel tape machines. They would put their thumb on the flange of the reel and slow down the tape while they were running
Really?
another version of the tape. Again, it really separates the two sounds.
Yeah.
It's called flanging, the technique of actually physically doing that.
Okay.
And then they came up with an electronic way. All these things are things that they did other ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chorusing.
Yeah, sure.
When you hear about a singer on a pop recording, or they're quite often they sing the song,
Yeah.
and they play it back, and they sing with themselves a second time.
Right.
That's how they get that fat voice. Herb Alpert did it on the trumpet.
Oh, yeah.
When you listen to T1 Brass, he's playing the melody with himself twice to fatten it up. Then they came up with a way to do it electronically, so you don't have to do that anymore.
Right. I sure am glad you're here. Thank you very much. Okay, the last pedal in this box is a blues driver. Now, and we were messing around with it beforehand a little bit. So I come from a very small town. We've got a real active blues society. But I don't play that much blues. I mean, I play a lot of other stuff. And so I'm not really set up. I'm not trying to get the crunch, that deep Chicago crunch. I don't do that. I play through, this is an Altus Fireball, and it's a real clean mic. And that's for what I do. I'm looking for a clean sound. But so Orrin, yes, Orrin he's jumped in with a blues band now, and they're looking for that crunchy sound. And so we were experimenting a little bit with the blues driver. Now, let me talk just briefly about drivers. So the same old rock and roll guy that sold me this sold me, there were a couple of overdrive pedals and distortion pedals and 70s rock and roll stuff, and I experimented with those a little bit. The distortion I didn't like, period. It just made my harmonica sound distorted. Yeah. And it was not a sound that was pleasing. There was nothing about it that was pleasing.
Size boxes are terrible too.
Yeah. That's not our thing. But the thing that I found out real fast was that some of those gain pedals, when you step on them, reverb becomes a real issue. It all of a sudden jumps a lot of power to what you're doing.
And feedback.
Yeah, yes. And that's the problem. Yeah. The feedback.
Yeah, I am a blues player, and when I was first seeking that sound, before I found out it was technique and not pedals,
Yeah.
I tried all kinds of overdrive pedals. They all created huge feedback, and none of them sounded natural or good.
Yeah.
So that's the last out of all these pedals. They're all cool. That's the last one you need. Probably save your money, never get one. But getting crunch has a great deal to do with your technique. One, you have to have a microphone that, unlike the Fireball,
Right.
actually breaks up at higher sound pressure levels. That's really a drum mic. It's designed not to distort in the face of a kick drum signal, right? It's like it's an engineering masterpiece. I think it can handle 140 dBs without distorting. But that's not what we want if we want to cup a microphone to get it to distort.
Right.
We want a
Right.
microphone that actually breaks up easier. So that's one part. But the other part is you have to play crunchy. Crunchy comes from when more than one note is sounding from your harmonica. If you play single notes, you will never have crunch. Okay? You have to let a little of another note leak through, at least on the attack, like with a tongue slap or something like that, to get crunch. And it's because anytime a second note comes through, you get a little bass generated from something called difference tones. Come to my booth, I can explain that. And that's what makes the amplifier go crazy, as well as the mic. And that's really where crunch comes from.
Even with that oddball mic that I got from that guy in California.
Works for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Greg.
So if
That
you
was
don't know, this
pretty
is
quick.
Greg Human from Blows Me Away Productions.
And he makes
Back here in the
incredible mics.
Absolutely incredible. And incredible everything. This is one of his volume pots right here. I have just started using one of his racket harmonica holders for play. So as COVID happened, I found myself doing more and more solo stuff, which I'm not very good at. But I'm a fat guy, and harmonica racks don't fit me very well. Just all this manliness lifts the harmonica up to about the middle of my nose, and so I've experimented with bending and changing and modifying, and his racket mounted on a mic stand solved all of my problems. So
I add to that, I guess, because I was working on, before I was using bullet mics, I was using more cleaner mics like the Audits. And what I found out was sensitivity levels. It's not that you can't use an overdrive pedal or a distortion pedal, but if they're made for a guitar, you have to start at the lowest setting because the frequency response is specific to a guitar and not a harmonica. Unless you buy an overdrive pedal made by a harmonica player, like Low Wolf.
right.
So
That's a really good point that needs amplification.
Yeah.
Guitars are not microphones. Okay, when it comes to understanding feedback and the way all these pedals work, a electric guitar pickups output is like 10 times less than a microphone's. That's half of the battle. The other thing is that a guitar string doesn't couple to the sound waves coming from your amplifier nearly as efficiently as a microphone does. And so this is why, among other things, gain is so important for harmonica players, and having way less gain than what guitar players want if they want to sound like Hendrix. And that's the way guitar amps are set up from the factory.
Yeah.
And it really affects the way pedals perform.
Tremendously, and I had all these things written in my notes that I left up in the room. So you guys, thank you for bringing all this stuff up.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm so thankful you guys are all here.
So where do you put an overdrive pedal at the end, before the amp, or in front of the microphone? Where does it go if you're going to use one?
I'll answer, but you guys fill in.
You want to repeat the question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. So the question was, if you have an overdrive pedal, where would you put it? Would you put it at the beginning of the string or the end of the string? So for me, I would put it at the end of the string because you're wanting to boost not the signal through all of this. You're just wanting to boost the signal going to the amp.
Get the wet signal in.
Yeah. Now, and my experience with overdrive, so
I just use it on the PA system.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I played with a husband and wife. They were husband and wife when I played with them anyway. Guitar and mandolin duo. And the mandolin player, so to Greg's point, the stringed instruments, you can play them harder and get a little more sound out of them, but they really need some help. And so when he would get to a mandolin break, he had a little overdrive pedal that he'd step on, and all of a sudden the mandolin sound came forward, with the overdrive pedal. Then when he was done and he was just going back to rhythm, he'd step on it, turn it off, and go back to playing rhythm again. Yeah, exactly. We've got a little more of an advantage that we've got so much dynamic range with the way that we play that I don't ever have to turn anything up. I mean, I play quietly when the bands that I play in, I play a lot of fills. I'll play a lot of pads underneath things, and then I play a lot of lead stuff. And when I do the lead stuff, I just pick up the volume. I mean, I just, when I'm playing.
You have an inline volume control.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know how people get by without an inline volume control. And again, this is a Greg Human volume pod.
I just bought one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not a substitute for the dynamics
Right.
he's talking about. We always have that, but it is awfully nice, especially if you want to play a 2-3 bent fat chord under somebody.
Yeah.
It's harder to play that really quietly, right?
Exactly.
So it's nice to be able to back off.
Well, and inevitably when you sound check, it's going to sound different when you actually start playing.
Absolutely.
Because when you sound check, the whole band's not up there with all that energy going. And so despite how well we think we sound when we sound check, I always have to modify it some. And this gives you some opportunity to do that. The sound guy can handle it out there, but this will, I can do a little bit of modification here. Yes.
we have an online question.
Okay.
You can address this now or later, but I think would be interesting for you to discuss what settings or effects you use for some of your classic rock songs. You can do that now, or you can bring it up later. Your choice.
Rock songs. I don't do that many classic rock songs. Well, we do, but we do them acoustically. And so it's not really, I don't know how it compares, but yeah, I can tell you, actually, can you remember that?
It's right here.
Okay, all right. Let me hold off till I get to my regular effect box, because this is what I use normally, and we'll kind of work our way around to that.
Oh, I was going to answer his question too a little bit about where to put the overdrive. So what I've experienced, actually, what I put up front in my pedal chain usually is a noise gate to help with feedback, and then right after the noise gate, I would put an overdrive there, and then I put all my effects at the end because I didn't want to overdrive my effects, like my reverb and the delay. I wanted that kind of on the tail end because I wanted to after boost the signal. But it's something you kind of just have to play with to see what sounds good to you. That's what I found was successful before I just switched to a bullet mic. I mean, I switched to the bulletin, and I don't need to overdrive anymore.
Yeah.
It's built into the mic. So
Yeah. Well, and I'll touch on that just a little bit again, because one of the really common questions when we do these things is, hey, I've tried this, but the feedback is just terrible. I don't know how to deal with all this feedback. So in my experience, and I want everybody here to chime in that has experienced this, but when I've had feedback, it was because, one, I had too much gain, and I had stuff turned up too loud, and I was trying to shove too much through it, and that was a real, when I first started playing amplified, that was a real problem. And so I again, it's sort of that learning experience, and you learn, you need to turn this thing down. Or the band members or the sound guys say, turn that thing down a little bit. And so, they'll tell you if you've got too much signal going through. So that was an issue. I had 3 things on there. The other issue is where you stand in front of your monitor.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got a wedge monitor in front of you and you've got a hot mic, feedback is going to be an issue. So you've got to think about monitor placement, or where, if I walk over here in front of that Bose, even holding this thing and turn it up loud, I'm going to get feedback. So think about
that.
That's a technique issue.
How do you avoid, how can you still have a monitor as a harmonica player and not get feedback?
Don't stand right on top of it. I mean, I back off of the monitor, and sometimes, so I'm hard of hearing after years of doing loud things. Not this. It was the other part of life. I'm deaf as a doorknob, so I want my harmonica loud, because when I've got a bass and drums and a keyboard and everybody else playing, I can't hear me in the monitor, so I have them crank it up. But you can't stand right in front of it. I mean, you've got to back off of it. And if you don't, feedback is going to, for me, if I don't back off of it, feedback is an issue. Now, we have just, again, I'm from a small town. We're kind of behind the times on things. We've just gone to in-ear monitors in our church praise band. Wow. Oh, it's a whole new world. It's the coolest thing in the world. And I've used them like 2 Sundays. So
Dependent on the engineer, though. That's what I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about
Sound
switching
guy.
to in-ear, but I wasn't sure if that would work for harmonica players.
If you don't have somebody to manage the mix for you, it's really tough.
No, they're not.
well, so we've got these little mixing boards. We've got personal mixing boards, and I can turn, it's mounted on my music stand right in front of me. And I can turn up, if I can't hear the keyboards, I can turn them up. If I can't hear if the drums are too loud, I can turn them down. And but I don't know how that would work.
Well, there's trade-offs for everything. You have a Frankenstein of wires.
Yes. Yeah.
All those different signals coming to every spot. He is using the PA, so in order to hear himself, he has to have the monitors. By contrast, I'm usually playing through an amp behind me, but sometimes it's hard to hear that. And if you're using a small amp and you're playing with an electric band, you will not hear it. The other part of why am I getting so much feedback? Well, it's because you brought a 5-watt amp. It's like bringing a knife to a machine gun fight. You're not going to hear that in a loud electric setting. And so you need help from the sound guy and getting it into the monitors. But the trick there is to have it as little as possible where you can still hear enough about what you're playing to feel comfortable. And part of getting better is learning to play when you can't hear yourself very well.
I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I know the rhythm, that's all I know. And I
Yeah.
can hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary sometimes.
It is. It is.
You
My sense
can't-
of smell?
I play saxophone
Yeah.
in a band and take a lead, and I know I'm playing the right notes, but I can't hear a thing that I'm
Right.
playing.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they're hearing it out there, but it's like, oh my God,
The
I hope
earpiece
this sounds
is
good. I hope
The
it sounds
earpieces cure all that if you gotta get engineering, you gotta get software.
If, but that's a big if
Yeah,
for most
Yeah.
of us.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a garage, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the EUs now, you can like have a little app on your phone.
No, I have an iPad. So
Oh, yeah, and it just control it like that.
This
But-
way, that.
Well, I've used it 2 Sundays, but it's fabulous. I love it. So but sometimes that's not an option, and the wedge in front of you is the only option. And so then the only time, I think if I'm lying to you, the only time in years that I've ever had an issue was when the monitor, we were on a small stage. This was in Lexington. Small stage, had a huge monitor right in front of me, and the sound guy had me turned up pretty loud. And feedback was, I mean, I couldn't, it's like this. I could get back a little bit, but I couldn't get back very far. And I couldn't get out of it. And he ended up, I finally caught his eye and got him to turn it down a little bit. And it went away, the problem.
Yeah. Those boards have gain and gain is not the same as volume if you have that question.
Right.
I mean, those boards have adjustable gain too. And sometimes they have their gain up high and you can suggest to them, try turning the gain way down and then bring the volume up.
Yeah.
And it'll make the feedback much more manageable.
Yeah.
Could you explain
It
gain?
is turned down the show.
Okay, is that okay with you? Do we have
Oh,
time for
please,
you to
yeah, because
explain
we
gain?
had this. So the question was, would you explain gain? So this is
Yeah.
Greg
What's the difference
Human
between
being.
gain and volume. The best analogy I've ever come up with. Imagine you have a little Mazda Miata, but you've hopped it up with a 500 horsepower V8.
Mhm.
And now imagine the gas pedal only moves a half an inch.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what trying to run an amp with too much gain is like. It's very hard to feather the throttle. It's hard to control in the corners. Same car, now give it 5 inches of gas pedal travel. That's what reducing the gain is like. Idle is still idle. Full throttle is still full throttle. But in between, there's much more sweep. We have much more control as we begin to add throttle. That's really what the difference between gain and the actual volume is. The volume is the same. In fact, you can usually get closer to the maximum volume before feedback when the gain is lower because it's so controllable.
Is it
Gain
does
input,
it affect your
right.
sound?
No,
Gain doesn't affect the sound.
the way there's a lot of ways to reduce gain if feedback is a problem. And all of them will affect the sound a tiny bit, but it's going to be, as the Russians would say, negligible.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
But isn't gain the raw input and the volume is taking that raw input and
No, gain is the curve that maps change in input signal to change in output signal. Okay, yeah,
Slope.
The slope.
slow.
it's yes,
Yeah.
it really is the slope. Doesn't have to be a curve. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys, for all the discussion.
Harmonica nerds, dude.
Yeah, well, I think we're all harmonica nerds. I mean, that's why we're here. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Also,
exactly.
they don't teach this stuff in high school.
No.
The biggest thing as a vendor, customers ask all the time, and they seem to act like they feel embarrassed that they don't already know.
Right.
It's like, how would you possibly already know this? You have to learn through experience or from somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And experience is a good teacher. Sometimes it's an expensive teacher. So there's a couple of boards of pedals over there that I've used to learn with. So, but again, I'll say this again. That's the advantage of buying used pedals. Reverb, Guitar Center, eBay. It's a it allows you to experiment with these things without breaking the bank and figure out what you like and what you don't like. Okay, so since we've been talking about drivers, I'll just step on this blues driver once. Okay, there's the dry signal.
Tommy,
Yes.
hey, I know you got a time schedule, but what you said, I had a little light bulb went on when you talked about double stops to really get that crunch. He was getting it on some individual notes. Did you feel it or no?
Well, I didn't hear him playing too many individual notes there, but that thing is creating distortion a whole different way, which is why it doesn't sound like Little Walter or Kim Wilson. It's got way too, to me and to my ear, everybody has different tastes, but to me it has way too much distortion of a lot of the high end. And what I'm really looking for is crunch on the edge of notes, and that's mostly coming from lower frequencies.
Okay.
But you know, everybody gets to choose how they sound.
Yeah.
I just think if you're going to spend money on pedals, there's a lot of pedals I'd buy before I bought an overdrive pedal because they are a giant pain in the butt. If you do want to play through the PA without an amp, then choose one that was made for harmonica input levels, unlike the Boss, more like the Lone
Boogeyman?
Wolf.
Yeah, I have a Boogeyman.
Yeah.
And I'm finally starting to think about using the brake side of the, has brake and delay. Delay I use all the time, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm not mastering the brake part of the Boogeyman. And I'm wondering if I'm not playing enough double stops or my attack harmonica is not right.
Do you tongue block?
No,
Okay,
that's the reason.
come see me. I'll show you a couple of things really quick
I'll do
that
it.
I think will help you.
Thanks. I'll see you. Sorry, Tommy.
No. This is valuable stuff. These are all questions that most of us have. So glad you're here, Greg. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you're here too. I'm learning a lot.
Okay, so all right, I'm going to switch gears now and run through this. So this is what I normally play through, and I'm down buried deep in here underneath my red. So this is my mic case, an old red wool sock. There's no easy way to pick this up and show you, but it's a big effect processor called an RP500. Now it comes by default with 100 different guitar effects in it. But they've got lots, because they're for guitar, they've got lots of gain in them. They're kind of fun, kind of interesting to play with, but they didn't have, that wasn't the reason I bought it. I bought it because there's a guy by the name of Richard Hunter, hunterharp.com. And Richard writes patches to go in a lot of different effects processors. And I've used his stuff in multiple different processors. I've ended up with this big monster in here, and I keep trying to get rid of it because it's so big, and I'll redo my box and take this thing out, and then I can't get the sounds I want without Richard Hunter's. I've kind of gotten used to his patches and the way that they work, and they're written specifically for harmonicas, and they just really do a good job. So I'm back to my RP500 again after, every 2 years I'll change, and I think I'm going down to smaller pedals. Well, no, I don't. I always come back to this.
And that's how I started too. I found his website and I got a Zoom G3X, and that's sort of what I use. I bought a bunch of other pedals since then, but it's so compact that I kind of just go back to that and yep.
Yeah, and I don't have it hooked up. I just brought it as an example. But I love the little Zoom G3. It's a great effects processor. Richard's got patches that go into this. It runs off batteries. It runs off AA batteries. If you want to carry some crazy effects to an open mic somewhere, this is an easy way to do it.
What would be the cost of that?
I don't think I paid.
It's like 100 and some change.
Oh, I don't ever pay that much.
You ain't cheap home.
Yeah. So if you just watch eBay or Reverb, I really don't remember honestly because I've had it for a long time, but I probably paid $75 maybe for it. I bought it used.
I bought
And
mine more recent, so inflation. Which
Okay. That's it.
Zoom has a new one specifically for wind instruments.
Oh, do they really?
Guitar.
Oh,
There's even a harmonica section on it.
Oh, shoot.
You know,
really?
And if I had known you do this, I'd have brought it. I have one.
Oh,
Really?
But I have something else I use instead. It's not as user friendly as I'd like. It has some great sounds.
yeah.
And there's two versions of it. One is just the box, maybe about that big, and another one has a pedal on it. For
Okay.
volume
Now, does yours have the pedal on it?
I did get one with it's like the whammy or whatever.
Okay.
But I like rarely used it, so I sold it and then got the one without the pedal.
Okay.
Because you can always attach it as a separate add-on.
Is that the new one, the wind? Specific?
No, it was the G3. There's a G3 and a G3X. I think the X has the attachment pedal already on it, and you can get the G3 that doesn't. It's just more compact.
I assume this wind instrument one is set up for assuming microphones as
Yes.
input.
Yes,
So
it
it's
has
probably a lot friendlier.
XLR connection.
You remember the model name? I don't know that one.
It's like, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the guy's name, but the guy that plays with Pat Metheny, Gregory Murray.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
I'll have to look that up. I'm curious now.
It's it's got trumpet settings on it and saxophone settings.
That's awesome.
It's not a guitar processor. And that's the problem we've always had with the stuff. It's designed for guitar.
Yeah, right. Okay. We got like 20 something minutes before I need to start rigging stuff down. So I'm going to move kind of fast through some of this stuff. In this signal chain, I go through a wireless mic, and this is the airline CR77, airline Samson airline, and I got it after reading Greg's review of it. They don't make them anymore. But I still can find them. I still see them occasionally on eBay, and I've almost bought them, but it's just so bomb-proof, it just keeps going. And
It's also such a great form factor.
yeah,
I really like that transmitter.
yeah, I do too. And I don't know do you know what the range on them was? Do you remember?
You mean distance?
Distance?
A few hundred feet. And what I've told everybody when that question comes up is almost regardless of what wireless system you choose, the range is greater than you will want to be.
Yeah.
When you get 50 or 75 feet out in front of the stage,
Yeah.
you're hearing the band late, you're responding late, then you're hearing yourself even later. The delay from the sound travel is really a thing, and you just don't want to get that far away unless you have in-ear monitor.
And I was going to tell that exact story. We were playing on a courthouse square one time, and there was a bunch of folks way off over across the square that were partying and hooping and hollering. And so Tommy with his wireless mic loves to ham it up and loves to walk out of the crowd and ham it up. I wandered all the way over there playing, and I got back, and the sound guy said, "You couldn't hear us very good." "I heard you great." He said, "No, you didn't either." So it was that, that distance and travel time for sound really affects what you're doing. And I probably went, it was easily 300 feet over there. Got great
That thing
signal.
still performs fine.
Oh yeah, it didn't have any problem. It was Tommy's ears that were it was the travel time back and forth of the sound that was noticeably off. It was great fun, and the guys that I went over to play with had a great time. It was a good crowd pleaser, entertainment value, but sound wise, it didn't work very well. So good point. Okay, so I come through this. This is the receiver for that. I come in from the receiver to the whammy, through the POG, down to the RP 500, back up to the delay, and then to the Mel 9.
What's that?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So the whammy and the POG, again, I've got them. They're the first thing that the signal comes through from the transmitter because they're pitch shifters, and they don't want a distorted signal. They don't want anything else. They need to have a clean signal coming in order for them to work properly. I'm going to go through just real quickly what you'll have to use your imagination where you might could use this. But for instance, again, we're closing out a set. We're in a good strong jam. You know, we're really getting down on some stuff, and the whammy. If you turn your volume up.
So that's not set like a whammy, no, excuse me. Yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Withdraw the question.
Okay. Well, and it's actually, so this is the Digitech whammy. It's got lots of different settings on it. I've got it set to the dive bomb setting, which kind of runs you through all of the options, and you can take it. So again, it's not something that you're going to use often, and if you use it too much, so let me stress this too: don't overuse your effects. That was on my list as one of the number one things. And they're so much fun, you tend to want to just turn them on all the time. They're really annoying when you use them too much.
Here.
So
Jason Ricci's a master at not overusing his pedals.
yes,
But
yes.
Who is?
beginners, Jason Ricci.
No.
But
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. I use this whammy pedal maybe once in a gig, possibly twice in a gig, but I really want it. So I tolerate the big, heavy thing that takes up a lot of space just because when I want it, I really want it. Same thing with the Mel 9. I use that once, twice, maybe 3 times sparingly in a gig. And same thing with the Pog, because it's just so easy to overdo them. And one of the things, and you'll hear this repeatedly, that people will say this all through this event, is record yourself and listen. Because when you record yourself and you've been overusing the effects, you think, oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, that's terrible. So record yourself, and it really, I've got a little Sony digital camera that's made for recording music. And I set it up over in one corner, and for years I recorded what we did, not out of vanity, but because I wanted to hear what it sounded like. And what I thought it sounded like up on stage doing this stuff is not always what other people hear. So you really need to record yourself and listen to what it sounds like. It makes a huge difference. Okay, whammy, POG. So POG just stands for the polyphonic octave generator. And electroharmonics, I hate electroharmonics because I love them so much, because they make all these crazy things, most of which I'm not capable of using. But the POG is really simple. Okay, so it's got three knobs on it, a high octave, a low octave, and a dry. So this is the low octave, and I can turn that off. And I've still got some dry signal in it. I can turn the dry signal down. But I really like having a little bit of harmonica sound in there. And then you can do the same thing. So it adds a real nice Wurlitzer sound to what you're doing.
So is a POG like an octave pedal?
It's like a low high that
It's the octave above or octave below.
Yeah. And you can turn the octave up, and like I say, you can control the amount of dry, you can control the low, and you can control the high. You don't set. I mean, it just goes an octave up and an octave down. So the whammy lets you can go down a third or a fifth or whatever if you want. But this just does an octave. But it's really simple. And again, this is a used POG Nano $50 or $60 maybe.
So when do you use it?
So I've got a couple of songs that I use it for just straight with the Pog. Then I've got several others that I may. As an organ.
Very churchy.
And yeah. And then I can even add a little. Oh.
Can't even hear the harmonica in that. You just hear the-
Yeah, well, and it does get kind of long. And again, it's one of those things that's real easy to overdo.
Can you? I haven't used it. I was told to get it. The low high from Lone Wolf, which I think is the same thing. And I wanted to achieve a Hammond B3 type sound.
Yeah. So
A rotary sound. A rotary sound.
yeah, so you need. So there are a lot of different.
Exactly.
One of the things I had wanted to point out. This is a Digitech iStomp pedal. And it's basically an empty pedal. There's nothing in it. And you can buy these for $50 online. And then Digitech has a website that you can go and for free, you can download whatever effects you want to and put in these pedals. They're fabulous effects. So if you want to, so to get that Hammond B3 sound, you need an octave generator and some sort of a Leslie effect. Now I've bought, over the years I've experimented with a lot of different Leslie pedals. I ended up coming back to Richard's effect because it works so well. But the Digitech, and I can't remember what, that's a delay. I can't remember what it's called, but if you can find an iStomp, you can get online and download maybe 2 or 3 different Leslie effect pedals or rotary effect pedals, delays, reverbs, some crazy stuff. They've got a whole lot of stuff, but thank you for mentioning that again, since I forgot all my notes. I wanted to point these out because they're a great, yes.
When you're ready, we have 2 questions online.
Okay. Okay. Well, so one of the questions was, what pedals do I use for
Classic rock.
For classic rock.
Classic rock, probably delay, chorus, and reverb are going to be my favorites for all of that. And in this RP 500, one of the effects has all 3 of those built into it. One of Richard's effects. Now, the advantage to the RP 500 that I can't show you, and I'm sorry, folks online, these guys can come up and look at it. Folks online, I apologize, but you can Google the Digitech RP 500 and see what it looks like. It also has individual switches on it that if you're in the middle of an effect and you think it's got too much chorus or too much delay or too much reverb, you can just turn it off. So not only is it software drivable, but it's hardware selectable too. Okay, second question.
Okay. And this is either for you or the room itself. Any thoughts or experience with the Lechholm 48 MIDI controller harmonica or the Microbox harmonica condenser mic?
No, I have not tried one of the MIDI harmonicas. Greg, have you?
No, the MIDI harmonica guru is Brendan Power he hasn't developed his own, but he's worked with others and he's great at taking advantage of new stuff.
I do know that Sandy Waltman has some YouTube videos demonstrating that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so does Brendan.
I will also add, so all of this keeps triggering things that I forgot to talk about. John Shirley is another mad scientist of music. And John, I wish John was here. He always, hang on just a second because I forget what my train of thought is. But John Shirley a couple of years ago did, as part of one of his things, one of his presentations talked about getting a low Z microphone, a low resistivity microphone, a 3-wire, an XLR, into a 1/4 inch, and how to best do that. And they make a lot of adapters, and you can just buy an adapter. You can actually buy a cable that has XLR on one end, 1/4 inch on the other end. But he did a great example of how crummy that sounds when you compare it to running through a transformer. So on an XLR, and I read this somewhere on a Shure website, you can go 1,000 feet without loss of signal through the cable. Through a 1/4 inch, you can go about 20 feet. Yes, Greg.
I have to amplify on that one because this confuses everybody. XLR is meaningless by itself. You see that 3-pin thing? It might be a low impedance mic. It might be a high impedance mic like the Hunter HB52. The cable might have 1/4 inch on the end. It might have XLR. If it has 1/4 inch, it might be pin 2 hot or pin 3 hot. You do not know, and it's easy to hook things up wrong, and sometimes they'll sort of work. If you use, with a low impedance mic, an XLR to 1/4 inch cable, you're only getting half of the mic signal and a big impedance mismatch. If you have questions, this is what I do. I've written about it. You can email me anytime. I'll answer your questions. But don't assume because you can connect it together, it's going to work right.
Yeah.
Yes.
XLR is the big violator of that rule we're all so used to, that if you can plug this into that, it just works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the Shure is a 3-pin hot and that 545. That works for me.
Okay.
Is your 545 set for high impedance or low?
So
Yeah.
Greg had asked what the Mel 9 pedal was. The Mel 9s, if you remember the old Mellotrons, this is the Electro-Harmonics version of a Mellotron. It's made for a guitar.
Oh, Mellotron.
Yeah, with a harmonica. So there's a whole bunch of different things on it: cello, flute, strings, clarinet, saxophone, bass. With harmonica, all that stuff sounds like crap.
Yeah.
The only thing that sounds good is the orchestra. Let's see. Let me get out of
Little
this.
enchilada setting.
So there are, in the mix of all the songs that we do, there are some songs that are sort of nice and sweet. And for those, I'll lay this underneath them. Yes.
Can you adjust the drive signal on that so you can have more of the hot?
Yeah. You can adjust a whole bunch of stuff on it. And actually, I've got like 6 minutes before I've got it written down. So I'm gonna just leave it up to you guys and say, if you're interested in that sound. The other thing that works are some of the. No, it's not working now. So there's one thing that has. I'll mention this real quickly. When you read the literature on these pedals, it says only use the power source made for this pedal. Well, I don't. I run through a brick.
Yeah.
What I have found is that, in especially the 9 series Electro-Harmonics pedals, they've got some sort of little instantaneous switch that needs full power instantly. And if your brick doesn't have instant full power, that switch doesn't get tripped. And so your pedal doesn't work like it's supposed to. So I always thought that was just BS. They're just wanting me to use their stuff. It's truth. I mean, you've got to use. Now, the alternative is that occasionally you just, I typically just kind of unplug it and plug it back in. Now that everything's on, it should be full power. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. This was never a problem when I first bought this pedal. It's just become a problem in the last, 8 months or so. But a lot of times that stuff is not promotional BS. It's for real. Okay, I'm going to go, again, I got to make this fast. So over here, I've got some odd pedals that I had wanted to just touch on. Check, yeah. One of them is an old Moog ring modulator. Interesting sound. The freeze pedal. This is another Electro-Harmonics pedal. Let's see. patch. No. I bought that pedal because we had to do a New Year's Eve gig and I had to solo Auld Lang Syne and I needed a drone underneath it. And this does a fabulous job of that. It's a fun pedal to play with. I'm sorry that I have to go through it so quickly. The last crazy pedal is a Montreal Assembly Count to 5. It is. It's made by a little boutique place up in Montreal, and I had to have it. It's the coolest pedal in the world. I had to have it, and I messed with it. I've never used it in a gig, so I took it out. It's alive. It kind of does its own thing sometimes. And now it doesn't work.
There you go.
There's a whole lot of settings on there that will do crazy things and do things that make all sorts of sounds that sometimes you don't want it to make. It works.
Take me back to the 70s.
Oh, yeah. All right. So it's fun to play with. Before a gig, we were at the bar one night, and I was kind of working through it and talking to some guys and recording some stuff. There was a lady back in the corner. She was listening. Finally, you got to turn it off. You got to turn it off. I can't take it anymore.
Having an acid flash.
Yeah, exactly.
It's arguing with my voices.
Yeah. So I want to mention this. This is the Donner, let me say, Alpha FX pedal. It's a cheap Chinese pedal. I think I paid $39. They're new, they're like $70 something. I paid $39 for it on Reverb. But it's got reverb, delay. It's got 3 different types of reverb, 3 different types of delay, including reverse, chorus, flanger, and phaser, all built into one pedal. It's now what I take when I go to church. I play through this. When I go to an open mic somewhere, it's not battery powered. That's the only thing about it. But it's a great little pedal, and it's got almost everything you need on it, and it's cheap. So the last thing that I want to mention, and I'm sorry that I've talked so much that we're running out of time, it's sort of an honorable mention, but it's the Boss. I think it's an R505. It's a looping station, and it's got all of the Boss effects built into it. You can choose lots of effects, but it's great fun. Oh, we're still doing orchestra stuff. You get the idea.
It's hard to do, man.
It's a lot harder to do than I thought. Yes.
I have someone online who is very insistent, wants to know, wants you to address the distinctions between condenser and dynamic mics.
Condenser.
Greg.
condensed, they're just different technologies. There's a lot of different technologies for microphone elements and how they generate an electric signal. And as a rule, condenser mics are inexpensive or high-end studio mics, and very little in between. They're not great for performing harmonica players for two reasons. One is they're kind of fragile, and the other is, and so are like ribbon mics. But the other is that if you do drive them to distortion with your technique, the breakup sound of condenser mics is not pleasant. So I generally don't recommend them. They can be used if all you want is a clean acoustic reproduction. They're good for that.
So the last thing that I want to mention is that and some of us had this discussion earlier, this is not my normal setup. I don't ever have all this stuff. I have this box, and when I'm done, I put this right here, I roll my cable up and put it in there, I shut my lid, and I walk off stage. So getting on and off stage quickly is really, it's important, but it's even more than that, it's courteous to the guys that are coming on after you, to the sound guys. Being able to get on and off quickly and it's easy to, have all these pedals and all these things that you need to hook up. And let me tell you from experience, make it as compact and as quick as you can. Now, there's a guy coming in here in 12 minutes to do a thing, and I'm not going to be compact, and I got all this crap.
Last question.
Yes.
Squeal killer like things, front or back. I
You
the last thing before it goes in the air.
Maybe I really have
On the
very
PA,
little
though,
experience with the squeal killer because I just try and avoid squeal.
Yeah.
I
actually use feedback.
By where you are and by gain control. And there are business cards up here if anybody wants one. There's some stickers if anybody wants a sticker. I'm going to start kind of winding stuff down. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you,
And
Tom.
online guys, thank you all.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, thank you all.
You did a great job.
I think it's like there's a Memphis one version of that.
Well, yeah, but this is the really good one. It's totally transparent.
I'm in director grade 4.
No,
It's Donna, made by the Donna Pedal Company. And it's the Alpha FX.
Thank you for doing what you do.
No.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
My pleasure.
all the work
But I
you guys
just
do.
understand what you
Makes
guys-
wonderful meeting.
Mission
Experience.
control.
Thank you, sir.
10 minutes
Yeah.
to set up.
Alpha F.
And then they click it.
Donner. B-O-N-N-E-R. Donner, yeah. You're very welcome. It's a great little pedal. I love it.
And then they have it ready.
Of course.
I was given
The Samson, no, they don't, but you can still find them used. Well, so I found one not long ago, and I almost bought a second set.
I have an APG.
Oh, do you? So the wireless that I'm using here is the Samsung CR76. And this is.
Wireless is incorrect from inside. So you don't get transfer.
Yeah, so this is the first one I bought, so I read Greg Hewman's recommendations, and this one went over with Greg. Yeah, it's important for us. So, but you're looking for a huge
And that's a good thing. So like, I had a long time where there's plenty of things about
But I've run it through just a few little effects. And I really
that goes
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. We got a bunch of them. After this, we'll go grab it. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I was here when I already did. Pitch it. Garbage.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, don't do anything embarrassing. You're on, but I need to go ask the guy a question. I'll be right back.
Make sure I had the right charger for the right thing. And sun, the sun. Hello, everybody out there in the spa world, virtual spa world.
I'm
not. Oh, there we go.
And you don't find somebody who's hip.
Yeah, I will.
This, usually there's a space down here that I can type things in, and there's not. And this thing looks like it wasn't sent. I don't know what to do. We're
Yeah, let me
live right
find
now,
mine
but-
for you because
Yeah, okay, yes, please send them in. That'd be perfect, thanks. Thanks.
yeah, because you should be that should give you a space.
I know. Okay, where's the zoom on this one? The other one had a good zoom.
You think I look good? Wow, you look good, Ned. I'll wear it on my forehead. There you go.
One, two, says record. Where did it, does it not have a zoom? I think I'm stuck with this picture, but you know what this? I don't see a zoom on this camera, and I want to zoom in, but can't.
He's in the
And
office.
shouldn't there be a chat message box down here? Yeah, here comes the guy. Oh, cool. There's no zoom on this camera, right?
Slight.
Slight.
Oh, how do you do it? Okay.
That's it.
Okay. And but the main thing is there's no chat window down here for. And does this look like it didn't get sent, or what's the deal? What's this one? What's this box right here? It looks like somebody made an answer and they didn't send it. I tried hitting the send button, and nothing happened.
That rag messed up your hair, man.
Yeah, let's see what we got.
We got this box right here. How do we get rid of that box?
That's your chat box. It looks like somebody had typed something in there and it didn't send.
It's too long on the send.
The message is too long. It had too many characters in it.
Why didn't they just stop typing characters in the box? That's stupid.
Yeah, it's got your word count down there.
Okay, so we can just edit some out and then send it.
Yep.
Okay, I know how to do that.
There we go.
Where's my box of messages?
Great. Now you're set.
What's your name again?
Derek.
Derek. Thanks, Mike.
D-E-R-E-K. The only way.
They work. Thank you, Lord. So every day since '97, all I've been doing is I should either be dead or in a wheelchair. My wife is angry at health because I signed it. Now, 22 years later, or whatever the hell it is, I hurt every day, but I'm alive. Oh, yeah. I want to dance like you, but I can't quite. Yeah, I see it, bro. I don't know if anybody can dance like that. I don't know. There was once a time I loved to dance. No football, I'm a leader. You got it wet, but you put it down. It just popped up like that all by itself. You can't. It's all the way down.
Yeah, I know.
My wife's got a trade when it came out of university. The ears was like this, and the hair was down
All right. Well, if we want, we can get started.
a couple of weeks before.
Attention class, attention class.
Hey, turn around and behave yourself.
The troublemakers are up front. The troublemakers are up front, and I like it. Welcome, everybody. How are we doing today, class?
Yes.
In this class, I highly encourage everybody does have their phone out. This is not going to be one of those that I say silence them or put them away. I want you guys to have them out because we're going to use them today.
I don't care. Just let it in case you're worried about it. We're gonna wear tattoos in the back.
If there's a little bit slow, but it's okay.
So I'm the teacher's pet, and I brought an extra oat milk latte for the teacher.
Oh my
Lord.
You, sir, get a star for the day.
Yeah, actually, they made an extra one.
See, folks, this is how you get ahead in life.
Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Make us look bad, dude.
Make us look bad. That's right.
Thanks a lot.
Now we can really
How to make
start.
1 friend and 10 enemies.
It's okay. The one in the front, so it's a good friend to have. All right, so today we're going to be talking about social media and how to use it to get more gigs, make more money when you're not doing gigs, and to just increase your presence out in the world of music. Because we all know everything has changed, but social media is scary. Everybody tells me it's a young man's game, right? That's why I call this, you're not too old, you just forgot how to slow down the record. Because what I say to anybody is, how did you guys learn how to play? You didn't have the internet. You didn't have all those resources. You maybe could get a method book. Maybe if your mom and dad would take you to the music store. And that's even if you could even get lessons as well. So how'd you figure it out? You slowed the record down and you listened. I think that's what learning music is all about, is listening.
Can you close that curtain behind you?
I'd love to.
Also, does anybody have a Wi-Fi password for the Hyatt meeting?
Yeah, I get it.
I think it's the SPAH 2022, isn't it? Or is that one not working?
SPAH 2022 Tulsa time T high T.
Oh, capital T Tulsa, and capital T time, and then exclamation point. Is it still creeping on us?
It's pointing directly at your head.
Ooh.
So it looks kind of ominous.
I kind of like that.
But it's a nice effect.
All right, we good now?
That's better.
Cool.
Still,
it's still a little wonky.
Well, it's like a big glare underneath.
yeah, so social media is scary, and it scares me still, and I'm very good at it, and I deal with it every day with, hundreds of artists and different brands. So not only am I I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Derek Frank with Honer, and I am the head of artist relations for Honer, but also Honer is part of a bigger company called KHS, and KHS owns 20 different brands of music instruments. Honer accordions and harmonicas, Honer kids, Lanaka ukuleles, Hercules stands, H. Jimenez mariachi stringed instruments. We own Mapex drums, Sonar drums, Majestic percussion, Jupiter band instruments, Altus flutes. I'm sure I'm forgetting several of them, but it's okay. You got the gist of it. So I actually do artist relations for 5 different brands. I do Honer, H. Jimenez, Lanakai, and Hercules stands. So that means not only am I dealing with all of the wonderful Honer artists, I'm also dealing with a ton of other artists for different things. So it's a lot. And I do a vast majority of the marketing and social media for those brands. And we have people on our teams, but a lot of big brands, and everybody thinks, oh, Honer's so big and stuff. We're still relatively small, especially in the music community. You look at like a company like Gibson, and they've got Gibson, Epiphone, Kramer, Steinbrenner, and they've got KRK. They've got several different brands under their roof. And they have a social media person for each brand. We've got 2 for 20. It's a lot. And that's globally. Like, we do have some people in some of our international teams that help, and everybody kind of pulls together. So that's where this fits. It's how do you be efficient, and how do you maximize your time that you're not wasting time doing this and learning it, but you're still getting a benefit out of it. And you could also say, well, I am just too old and it's not going to make a difference for me. And to that, I say that's originally when Rob was looking at being here, he had gigs. So I appreciate Rob going and taking some gigs. But don't feel bad about the ringers either. I want those phones out. So that just means that you're getting business. That's fine. That this is not the class you're going to be upset. I'm not going to be upset if your phone rings. So, but Rob, especially like before the pandemic, but especially during the pandemic, did an absolutely incredible job of using social media to survive and to help survive. And what did he do? He started doing lives. He started posting videos. He started doing all of this different stuff. He was joining podcasts. He was doing online lessons.
Rob who?
Rob Paparuzzi.
Oh, Rob.
Oh, yeah.
Robert.
Yeah. Rob P. So,
Rosie.
yeah, he was just doing such an incredible job and so inspiring with how he was doing it. And he didn't know how to do any of that. So, and there's other people, there's a guy in this room that has just knocked it out of the park. That's Charlie Barat. Charlie started doing his band sessions and cartoons. Gosh, it's such a great name and I screw it up. He does his cartoons. And you did that during the pandemic.
15 months and I missed 5 Wednesdays the whole time.
It's incredible.
And the reason I did it from my car is because I live down in a hole and I have no internet, no cell service. So I had to drive to an empty parking lot about a mile up the road. And I did it there knowing that I needed to stay engaged with my following for what I thought was going to be a month or 2.
Yeah, and we all did.
Wound up staying engaged, growing my audience, and even people from the UK, France, Spain, New Zealand, Brazil would tune in on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
And they still complain that I quit doing it after 15 months.
Yeah, and that's going to bring up some other points. I'm going to talk a little bit about like endorsement deals and brand deals and things like that.
Revenue streams.
What's that?
Revenue
Yeah,
streams.
exactly, revenue streams. So with all of that, Charlie is a great example of how something so scary that you have no idea how to do. Think of the first time you went on stage and played. It's terrifying. But it takes that first time and that second time and that third time. And then by the time you get like 15, 20 under your belt, like, oh, it's muscle memory. It's so muscle memory. And the great thing now is everything that you need to learn is at your disposal for free. You can learn how to do everything social media that you could ever want to know on YouTube. Like if I have a college degree, which I still feel like it was the biggest waste of 5 years of my life to want to be a musician, but I at least have a piece of paper that says I'm qualified to be a musician. I don't know, whatever. But if I were a high school senior now, and I wanted to get into pretty much anything that has to do with the arts or marketing in general, I would not go to college. I would get internships. They're like, every month, I do free courses on Google on marketing and branding and different things. They're completely free. And once you do them, you actually get a certificate from it. So you can put that on your resume, you can put it on your websites and things like that. So all these resources are out there. And for everybody that wants it, I have a digital packet that I'm happy to email everybody. And again, it's all free, it doesn't cost anything. I just put all this stuff together. So you can find all this info. It's not as scary as everybody really thinks it is. The way that I was always good with social media, I was always on top of it, but the trends change so fast. I remember having Facebook when you had to have a .edu email address. Like, I remember when it came to our university. I'll never forget. It's my freshman year at Eastern Illinois University, and I'm sitting at my buddy's place. He went to University of Illinois up the street in Champaign, Illinois, and I used to go up and visit him all the time. And I'm up there, and he's like, "Hey, Derek, you got Facebook yet?" I was like, "Was that like a new planner or something? What is the Facebook?" He's like, "No, it's this thing online. Like, you go and you get mad, like you put your class schedule in there, and you can see like other people that have classes with you. It's like, it's a great way to meet hot girls." I was like, "Yeah, I want that." And so I went back to school, and I was like, "We don't have it yet. What is this?" It's like, "Coming to school soon." So then it came, and then I got it. Of course, it was great, but it started as a class schedule. And you could start putting pictures in. I remember when it didn't have a timeline when it started. It wasn't a thing. Like, you just see like all your friends, then you click on their profile and you see all their pictures. And then it used to sort just by pictures. It was basically like Instagram, but without all the statuses. There was no status. When the timeline came out, everybody was all creeped out. And people were like, "This is never gonna last. This is never gonna last." And then they changed something else and add another feature. And this isn't gonna last. It's too much.
What was it before FaceTime? There was another one. So
like MySpace was big. Yeah, MySpace was still big. Actually, MySpace still held up to Facebook up until really like 2009 is when MySpace started to die. But with Facebook, as they progressed and everybody like pushed back on all of their things that they were implementing, like the feed and different things like that, because you're like, "This is creepy. This is way too much into my personal life." Facebook didn't back down. They just like, "Well, we're going to do it anyways." And then people just did it. And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to tell everybody what I'm doing." Like, if you look at I can look at old statuses from 15 years. That's also crazy that it's been around that long. And see it's like, "Derek Frank is," and then you put in there like, "Derek Frank is getting drunk at the frat house." And so I was like, wow, why did I tell everybody that stuff? But what it did was it was building a social network, and it was building the foundation for what we have now. And as Facebook progressed, then other apps started coming out. Like MySpace started to die, and MySpace died because it didn't have enough direction. Where Facebook's like, "We know we want to do this. People are going to hate it when we launch it, but it's new. People love new stuff." And so they just kept going. And then Twitter came out. I still don't really care for Twitter, but I'm going to talk about how you can optimize all this so you don't really have to look at all of them. They just automatically work. We'll talk about that too. But Twitter came out, and then Instagram. And I remember when Instagram came out, and I was like, "This is stupid. It's just pictures. Like there's like nothing. Like, I don't need to see how vain you are." And then Instagram blew up. And does anybody know who Gary Vee is? Gary Vaynerchuk. Check him out. He is one of the biggest marketing gurus in the world. His family owned a wine company, and he started email marketing wine before email marketing was a thing. And he built that and built it. And now Gary Vee, to do one appearance for a 30-minute speaking slot, it's like $1.5 million to have Gary Vee. You go let's get our phones. If you got the YouTube app, this is a great opportunity. You can go on YouTube and look up Gary Vee.
Did somebody get that password for the Hyatt meeting?
I don't know if that one's the same. I was using the SPAH 2022.
That's the
Fine.
network, or
That's
that's
the network.
That's the network.
Derek, while you're doing that,
Yes.
somebody called the Woods Effect.
What is it?
Okay.
They said that their favorite booking agent in Winnipeg wouldn't book them unless they got a MySpace page back in 2008.
Absolutely. MySpace was great. I loved it because you could pick who your top friends were. People were fighting for that opportunity to be top friends. And what was cool about that was that you could get like major artists and influencers. I'm going to talk about influencers a lot today. Before influencers were a thing, you could get people to put you in their top list. And then you go on Justin Timberlake's MySpace and you like see his top people and like, oh, I'm going to follow them. I'm going to be friends with them. That's where that was really great. And that's where things have gone now, where like Y Honer has artists like Rochelle. I post a thing with Rochelle and tag Rochelle in it on Honer, and it gets thousands of views and likes, and people admire it and they love it. Okay, so back to Gary Vee. So Gary Vee has 3.92 million subscribers on YouTube. That guy makes more every second than I do in a year. And I think like his per minute of what Gary Vee makes is like 175,000, I think, per minute. He's even launched his own NFTs. He does it all. He's incredible. But he started out of a necessity of a failing wine business. And he just started sending emails to everybody that walked into his store and constant contact so people didn't forget him. And that's what it's all about. It's about keeping engaged with the people you already know in order to expand more people. Now, does everybody, all right, so we're going to just do show of hands. Does everybody have, or who has Instagram?
Don't use it much.
Yeah, and that's okay. If you don't use it, it's fine. But if you have Instagram, great. Okay, anybody have Twitter? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't remember my password.
and yeah, we can get through that kind of stuff too. Okay, what about TikTok?
Have it, hate it.
Yeah, I hate it too.
Yeah.
Except I sit on there for an hour. But that's the thing. Yeah.
I'm afraid about TikTok because I tried before when it came up, and after that I started to read auditions and everything, and it's true. It seems looks like when you put some content on it, it becomes their property
Yes.
and their rights, and this makes me scary. And I just stopped everything and put everything out.
Yep. So
But isn't the same, that's also true with YouTube.
Not exactly. No, not with YouTube. So like I own all of my own rights, publishing everything with YouTube. They just are taking monetization money. They're basically like a CD baby or whatever hosting you're doing for your music. Like if you put an album out and it gets sent, like they automatically send it to Spotify and any of those other ones, and YouTube. YouTube is basically just like you're hosting and they get a piece of the advertising pie. So I have a YouTube channel that I launched just over a year ago. I wanted to do it before the pandemic. I always wanted to have a YouTube channel because I get to go and hang out with all these amazing artists, and I'm backstage all the time. And I'm like, okay, I would want to see that. I figured other people would too. So I shot a couple of the videos, and the pandemic hit. And I was like, okay, so I didn't even publish them. And I didn't know how to edit videos. Like the only videos I'd ever edited were like Windows Movie Maker Flash videos that were, a minute or whatever. There was no skill on it involved. So fast forward to the pandemic's going on, and a friend of mine named Andrew Masters has a channel that's almost at, he might even be at 100,000 subscribers. Let's see what he's at right now. This is why I have him. Phone's out for this one's good. He's at 98,000. Okay, he's getting close. But Andrew is a young producer engineer in Nashville. He used to live in LA and all this stuff, and he just started putting out videos where he'd go to people's recording studios and do a tour and talk about all their gear. And it blew up. And he's done some incredible studios. He's done a lot of home studios. Well, he had a cancellation because he shot every Thursday, put out the video on Monday. That was like his schedule. He set that schedule. This is what I'm going to do. And someone canceled, and he put it on Facebook that, hey, I had a cancellation. Can anybody let me come see their studio? And I had just built a 12 by 24 studio out of a shed. I bought a shed in order to turn it into like a studio. And I did all the work myself and did it for under $7,500. This really great space detached from my house. So Andrew's like, yeah, man, like, I'm doing like these really cool, like multi-million-dollar studios, and even like the home studios, like they've all got high-end plugins and all this Neve and API and stuff. And I'm like, I tell you what, you're going to shoot this video and it's going to be your best performing video you've ever done. And he's like, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, it will. And he's like, why do you think that? I said, because the people that are watching your channel don't own $1 million studios. If you own $1 million studio, you don't need to watch how to get $1 million studio. They don't care. People that are watching are like us. We want to know how they're doing it or like what they got, because I want to buy that as an influencer. So he shot the video. Sure enough, it was his best performing video of the year. And it shot up to almost 80,000 views. And I had people blowing me up. So I built a 50-inch touchscreen for $400 that I use as my console. It's 10-point. It's so cool. Looks like a big spaceship. I built the desk, and so people were like, how'd you build the studio? How'd you build this? How'd you do that? So I started making these videos on how I did it. They were not great quality. The editing was bad. My audio was bad, and I'm an audio guy. That's not a good thing. Yeah. And so, but the videos took off. Like one of them's like almost 30,000 views. And then with that is where I started affiliate marketing. That's how we can make some money. This is a really easy way to make money. So affiliate marketing is just working with brands or with like Amazon. Heck, Lowe's and Home Depot have affiliate marketing. So everybody's got it. They all have it. And you just sign up for a page and it's free. And then you just like, hey, I recommend, like I can do anything. I can go on Amazon right now and like Caesar's like, hey, Derek, you know some good dog food? I'm like, Caesar, of course I know good dog food. I eat a lot of dog food. I can tell you what's good. And so I can just hit a button and send you the link. And if you buy it off of my link, I make money. And you don't pay anything extra. It's buying from the same store. So what I do, I took everything that I used in those videos and I put those links in there. So when a guy wanted to make that touchscreen, you could buy it was an infrared frame. You could buy that on Amazon for like $250. And people started buying it. And after like a few months, I sold like 45 of those. And I think I got like 5 or 6% of all of those. So 5% of $250, like it adds up a little bit. It's not a bad chunk. But then they were buying, I would like put a link to the TV. And they're like, well, that's the TV Derek used. It's gonna be easier if I just use exactly what he used, even though you can do it with anything. So they bought the TV, $350 or whatever it was. I bought mine at a pawn shop for $100. I'm a cheapskate. But they're buying for $350. So now I've got them for, almost $600. And then they're like, oh, well, Derek used this like to build his desk. I'm gonna go buy that. And then I started doing review videos of gear, whether it was music gear or tech gear or anything I use. And I only review stuff that I like and that I use. I never ask for free stuff or money from these companies if I don't already use it.
You don't review something they had a problem with to try and improve it?
Nope. Nope. I'll tell people negatives about things that I review. Like I'm honest with my reviews if I don't like something, but I've had some things get sent to me where I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna like this, and I hated it. And I think also out of fairness to a company.
Trying to be gentle.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like if I went out and bought something and it was terrible, that's one thing. Like if I paid full price, but if a company is asking me to do this, I will give them the chance if it's bad to say, do you want me to put this out or not? Because I don't like it. Here's why.
Right.
And they're always going to say, no, don't put it out, of course. But I give them that respect. But the stuff that I have done, like I did one on a gaming mouse it's $20. I'm like, I think it's great for studios because everybody buys the cheapest mouse for their studio and they don't react as fast as you think they should, but you don't notice because you're not used, you're like, oh, it's just a mouse. But I get a gaming mouse that's meant for playing like shooter games that can fly across the screen at much better accuracy. Well, when you're using faders and plugins and stuff in your studio, it's way easier to hit everything faster. So now I took a gaming thing and put it into the music world. I sold like 300 of those for my channel because it's $20. Yes.
Interestingly enough, what I'm hearing
from another marketing point of view, is that it's the old story about snake oil. It's out there.
Yep.
Some of it's crap, some of it's good. You're discerning the difference between the two and helping me and her and him make a decisions because we know you and we trust you.
Yeah.
That influencer orientation is one thing, but let's get to the bullshit and the reality here. There's a lot of people who think they're an influencer and we don't know the difference between them. And it's really hard to find that out from a marketing point of view because you utilize somebody's talent. And that talent then comes back and bites you in the ass because it wasn't good. How do you discern that, please? I need to know that.
I've had plenty of failures doing that with Honer, with different brands and stuff. Okay, so great example. Let's talk about the Pentaharp because it's, I created the Pentaharp and it's my baby. And I did it for a very specific reason of getting more people involved in harmonica. It's like we all know that Honer's the big dog in the fight. We'll always take more harmonica players, but we don't need to educate harmonica players on Honer as much as we need to educate new musicians or just people to get them involved because we see sales getting less and less, and all of us do. Everybody at Seidel and everything, we're friends, we all talk. Sales go down because we don't have as many customers, because we don't have as many new people coming in. So that was like, one, I had a hard time learning to play real hard because, like Richter too, because I'm a drummer and guitarist, piano player, and vocalist. I see things linear. I didn't understand the layout, and it didn't make sense to me. So that's where I came up with it. That's a whole other thing. So the marketing with that was the Love It, Hate It campaign. Guitar players are gonna love, or guitar players love it. Harmonica players hate it. That was the whole thing, and that was creating two things. Every hate message that we got about it from harp players that said this is the dumbest thing ever. I'll never use this. It's cheating. All of that stuff. You know what you guys did when you did that? You bumped our algorithm and you gave us more views because all of it was interaction. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It could have made me mad. It could have maybe alienated someone in the chat, but most people don't read the chat as much as you think. They just write their own comment. People are vain. I'm one of them.
So you're saying the buzz itself is worth the effort irrespective of where it comes from?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's really negative, bites you in the butt real hard.
Yes, and so I've had that. So we had reached out to some influencers that were not harmonica players, not Honer artists, and some of those you have to pay.
Yeah.
And with being a Honer artist and stuff, like if you're actually a Honer artist, like sometimes, we have budget for marketing things and whatnot, but a lot of people just want to be involved, and that's part of it. And there's a trade-off of being an artist that people will just do it because they want to be part of the marketing. Well, these influencers, they don't want that.
No.
Like, we had Marty, what's Marty's name? Last name? I'll be like, hey, get your phone thing. Marty's great. Marty is like the guitar guy. Marty Schwartz, I think. Yeah, Marty Schwartz. Yeah, good. Marty's great. And so he did a review on the Pentaharp, and it was awesome. He's got 3.43 million subscribers too. It was not cheap to do that.
Right.
And we've never done this before. We had never paid an influencer because, to me, it's not authentic.
It's unethical too.
Well, to a point, but what about Michael Jordan?
Well, he sold the devil a long time ago, but that's beside the point.
But the company made money from it.
Did you have him do a demonstration of the harmonica?
Yeah. So Marty did a real unbiased demonstration of the Pentaharp, and it was great. It was really good. He did give us we got final approval. We did no edits. We wanted it exactly how he had it. I didn't want, any negative things. I still want it out there because I don't want people to buy it thinking that it's something that it's not. I want it to be honest. Now, we had some other influencers that did videos. They were awful. They were horrible. And still had to pay them. And they put them out and they were bad. Is what it is. That's marketing 101. Getting back to the longer way of the question, how do you discern what is good and what's not? You have to do as much research as possible. Now, I personally didn't do that project. We have a marketing team that helped us with that, or a firm an outside firm that helped us with that, because God knows I have a lot of time on my hands that's extra. And that's what they specialized in, was dealing with more influencers in the music world. And Marty was great. That video was incredible. Like I've seen the numbers of how many he sold through his affiliate marketing through Sweetwater. It's a lot of pentaharps.
So let's just stall it for a second. You have a guest artist here.
Uh-huh.
Another one on my other side. They want to do this. They make those decisions that you've just described, and they get the wrong influencer during the course of that. Costs them a lot of gigs. And you say, oh, well, you need to do the work. These two people need to do the work in the studio. They need to do the work at home. They need to do the work elsewhere. We don't all have a billion hours, just like you described. So it's, you say, do the research. You can't A, afford to pay the researcher that you just described.
Right.
And B, you can't know everything that you've learned through your many years of doing it. So as a result, it leaves a neophyte stuck in between a rock and a hard spot. Do I go? Don't I go? Do I go? And then, I take a chance. Oh, damn, I lost my money. So I'd like you to extrapolate that a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm marking.
No, this is great. I love this. This is good because this is all
push
stuff.
Back hard because you're giving people some information that they might get a kick in the ass with. Right?
Yeah. So for everybody in here,
Derek,
can
you shrink his question down into something that?
Yeah. So he's saying, how do you find these people to work with without that are going to be good without losing your butt? Yeah. And getting taken advantage of or just being a bad investment. For all of you guys, don't even worry about that level at this point. Unless you're doing a product, but even still, product marketing with influencers at a low level, work with what's called a micro influencer. And that's what all of you can be today. So a great thing. Another person that I think is a prime example, Richard P. Bennett. Richard was not a Honer artist. I had my first spa here in Tulsa, and Drew said, hey, Derek, you need to see this guy. He's just really cool. And I loved him. And, we brought him on the roster. And then I brought him on the roster for Lanakai ukuleles because he had called me. He's like, hey, I want to buy a ukulele. And I'm like, you know what? You're different. I don't really have someone like you in my roster. I think it'd be great. He's like, well, why are you doing this? He's like, no one cares what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, I disagree. I think what you're doing is authentic. And to me, authenticity is great. I've never once asked an artist to be an artist for our brand that was with another company, ever. If you're with any of our competitors, I won't do that. So what Richard did was he took a risk and he started making those videos on Wednesdays. And what has happened? He's getting 500 to 700 views a video. And you might say, well, Derek, you got those influencers that are getting 50,000 views or more. How does this make a difference? Okay, here's why. The 500 to 700 people that are watching Richard's videos are invested into him. And the engagement rate is what is so much higher because you might have Marty has 3.5 million subscribers. Let's see how much his Pentaharp video did. The numbers were good. Really good. 50,000 views. Great, right? What's the percentage of views compared to his subscriber count of 3.5 million? Tiny. So we paid way more per person to do it. Now, it was worth it because it's still a big market. But if I have our artists that are not at that high level, even if you have 1,000 subscribers or followers on any of these platforms and you get 20 or 30 consecutive likes and you post about us a couple times a week, that's getting more interaction than that guy posting once in a lifetime.
Fair enough.
So that's where I say every one of you is important at any level. Micro influencers are actually the way that the industry is going because you want Kim Kardashian to do a video for you or tell you that you're $10 million just to mention it. But you get somebody like Kyle's stuff is great. I love seeing Kyle's social media stuff. So say Kyle starts saying, hey, I love Honer. I use Honer at every gig or whatever. And then somebody's like, oh, well, I didn't know what he played because he's up on stage. He's got his hand covering his instrument. You can't see the logo.
He's always playing guitar or something.
Yeah, he's always playing guitar. But now he's talking about it online. It's because we have a relationship.
Yep.
Caesar's amazing with this. Then he's going out and giving harmonicas to kids. Jerry does it. Charlie does it. All of ours. Rochelle does it. It's incredible. And because of that, I can't pay somebody, an influencer, to do that. There's not enough money to get them to give that kind of real impact.
So let me feedback just what you just said, because here's where SPAH is gonna come into this. As of September, we'll have a new website. I've already talked to you about this. All y'all gonna be free, coming onto a website, putting your advertisement and your stuff, and it's gonna connect with everybody in SPAH and everybody in the world, business and all of that. That's coming. So promise you that. That's why I'm here today, to find out where we're gonna interact and how we're gonna make it work. But that's part of the dollars you spend for an organization that says we're SPAH. And if you know what John does, you know what this fellow does, and Caesar, and all of a sudden you say, well, I happen to be in Tulsa tomorrow. He's playing. Cool, I just dropped by, I knew him from SPAH. That's the interaction that we want with you all. That's gonna come. So promise, things are changing in the backyard. I just want you to know that. So thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah, Jerry.
Is there a way to add the brand name onto a live video?
There is.
A live stream?
Yeah, there's different software.
Where will remain?
Yeah, there's different software you can use. I used to use, what's that software called? It's a web-based browser.
And also maybe a QR code for tipping?
Yep, you can do all of that.
It's free. That's a cool thing.
Find it for you. Okay, it is, Restream. Restream.io, and there's several of them out there. There's several different platforms that do this. Restream is the one that I was doing for a lot of the Honer Live stuff that I was on, where you could see, like, we could switch cameras, you'd see the ticker at the bottom, I can interact with the chat, and you can even put products on there.
OBS.
Yeah,
like that.
And you can use OBS, but with like a thing like Restream, what's great about Restream and there's like I said, there's other software just like it. You do pay a monthly fee. It's not terribly expensive, but when you go on there, it's all web-based. Like, so you don't have to download an app. You don't have to do all that. And then everything stays there. So like if you have a guest, they just go into the link that you give them. And then it automatically broadcasts it to whatever you want, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, any of those, it'll broadcast it to it. And you don't have to do anything. And then you can put your logos on there. You can do all of that stuff way, way easier.
Is it possible also to broadcast several times to several platforms at the same time?
Yep. Yes. Yep. Yeah. And depending on what package you have, like, so that's how we were doing those, where we were broadcasting to YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Can you repeat that name?
Yeah, it's Restream. RESTREAM, and then it's .io.
I got a friend in San Diego, Nathan James.
Oh, hey, Nathan.
Fabulous guitar player, and he's playing more and more harmonica now. And saying he's got like a foot thing, and he's got multiple cameras, and he does it on Restream.
Yeah.
And fantastic stuff. You want to see some cool stuff?
Yeah.
So Restream, say that again.
Yeah.
I was writing down something else you said. So you just market your videos on other platforms?
Yeah, it'll automatically send it out for lives.
Is it an editing platform?
Nope, it is. It's basically like Zoom, but just on a web browser. And then you can do all the overlays. It's like Zoom on steroids. It's great. It's really great. And you can use things like OBS, like Jerry mentioned. I use OBS when I'm doing my lives now, most of the time, because OBS is hard. It stands for Open Broadcast Source. It's free. It's a freeware thing, and it's basically like the developers are people in the community, and they, you get updates when you get updates, but there's all kinds of workarounds. It's
not
a
really
lot.
intuitive.
It's not intuitive at all. Now, like I build OBS streams for people, so then like all you have to do is like open up this file and it pops it in there and everything's ready to go. But I'll do that for people too. But even still, it's a lot. Restream's way easier. You just turn it on, like, oh, I want my Jerry Fierro logo in this corner right here, and I want the ticker to say, hey, welcome to the Thursday night harp jam. And then you can do that. And then anytime someone chats on the side, like say you're broadcasting to Facebook and YouTube, you're seeing both chats in one spot. So you're not like switching around. Right? It's really, really intuitive.
So let me, I need to understand this a little more.
Yeah. And if anybody has questions, just shout them out. That's what we're here for.
Restream is a live broadcasting platform.
Yes.
So in other words, you're creating a video, it's live. Do you also save?
It does save it,
It
yes.
will save it for you, but it is not a video editing platform.
Correct.
Like when I make a video for YouTube, I'll do it in, I usually shoot it in OBS and then end up put it into iMovie and then edit it.
Right.
And
I think Restream might have some editing that you can do there, but that's not what they're known for. They're just taking your source and sending it out to different places and making it cleaner and more professional. That's why if you look back on some of those lives that we were doing for Honer, you would see like the Honer logo and different things like that. That was all through Restream. It was super simple.
Just jumping back. Go ahead, Richard.
Also, it appears you are a PC guy. Or do you use Mac?
So actually, everybody needs to go and follow my YouTube channel. It's The Derek Frank. And the reason it's The Derek Frank is because there's another Derek Frank. He's way cooler than I am. He plays bass for Shania Twain and Gwen Stefani. So he's Derek Frank. I'm The Derek Frank.
That's your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So TheDerekFrank. I just did a video on why I switched from Mac to PC.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I love Macs. I think they're great. Yes, there it is, right there. I love Macs, but the reason I switched mostly to PC is because of my touchscreen, because Macs don't really like touchscreens, and I use multiple monitors, and Macs are horrible for streaming live. They're wretched for live streams.
Really?
So, yeah. The worst.
That may explain why I've had problems.
Yeah. Oh, if you're trying to use OBS with the Mac, might as well just use your cell phone.
Oh, great.
Yep. That's why.
Well, yes.
But you could use, well, as far as editing, you couldn't, but with Restream, you can record on Restream too and just not have it broadcast and then send that over to iMovie and edit.
And does that allow you to do things like screenshots?
Mm-hmm. So here's the other cool thing with Restream. Like when Jamie Garner would do the Harpslinger podcast, he pre-recorded those, but they launched live on Honer's Facebook. How did that happen? I took the video file, you dump it into Restream, I hit play, go live, boom, and now it looks like you're live, and you already recorded it. And then it lives there forever, plus you got the live market, which is a bigger algorithm.
Is there a certain time of the day or
great question,
the week that you want, people come home from work at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
But that's on the West Coast. What about people that are 8
Yes.
o'clock going to bed on the East Coast or in Europe?
Amazing question. So every platform is going to be different. Everything's different. So like with my stuff, when I post to Instagram is not always when I post to YouTube. Is not, Facebook is almost dead. So and that was going to be my next thing. Like with Facebook, like use your time wisely with Facebook. I wouldn't put a ton of time in it because their whole thing is like they want you to pay to get your reach out. They all do. Like the goal of social media companies is to keep people on their platform. That's how they make money. The longer you're on that platform, the more money they make because there's more advertising. It's not like they're doing it as a charity to the community of like, I'm going to give you this amazing platform and you don't have, like, I'm not going to make any money. No. They have to have advertisers. They have to pay people to do programming. They're massive companies. It's a lot of work. So how they do that is, well, Facebook is the worst. I'm going to throttle all of your posts. You put a link in there, there's no way I'm going to show anybody. I'm going to squash that. It's like if I post a link to my YouTube channel, I might get 5 people see it. If I put that same video directly onto Facebook, everybody or more people will see it. If I give them $20, they'll make sure they all see it. Because that's what Facebook wants to do. And all of them, to a point, Facebook's the worst. Yes?
Justify what you just said. I just did that on Google. I'm shocked. Like you got like 50 ways to meet your lover on here. Sincerely, there's everything about Derek Frank you ever wanted to read, and it's all separated into different things, whichever one of those that you like. So this is really good positive shit, because if you could do it once from one place rather than do it from 50 places.
Well, I can do you one better.
Yeah.
I was going to say this. Yeah.
Can you shrink that down for the But his question.
Yeah, so he was just saying, like, if you go and type in my name in Google, you can find like all of my different socials because, and that was gonna be another point. When you do all this stuff, make sure it's all consistent. Make sure that your name on Facebook is in your fan page. Try to get away from your personal page as much as you can. Like have a fan page or groups. Groups are actually really good in Facebook where groups, if you put a link in a group, Facebook doesn't mind that as much because you're still staying in the group. So there's some hacks. And this is all stuff that's in my little packet the digital packet.
Just put it in one at a time, because if they catch you doing it 20, 30 at a time,
Yes.
they stop you.
Yes.
So that's how I do all that Facebook stuff that I'm doing from SPAH. Is I have to literally link that one at a time to every group. It's a pain
Yes.
in the ass, but it gets out there.
It is because they see that you're putting the same thing and then it's spamming.
Yeah.
And also with that, like when you're in these groups, like the HARP groups, like you guys all know each other, and even though there's tens of thousands in some of them, but if you're only in there to promote yourself, people are going to see through that and they're not going to engage at all, even if they do see it, because it's like, oh, all this guy does is post his own stuff. He doesn't care about us. He's not serving the community. Like, why has my YouTube channel done well? Think of the videos that I thought were really cool. I've done some of these backstage videos. I'm a Disney fanatic, so I go to Disney and vlog while I'm at Disney, hanging out on the tour bus with artists and stuff. No one cares about those. Those videos do not do very well. What are the videos that do well? The ones that are teaching people something. Now, entertainment is a thing. And like as your channel grows, entertainment will grow, but you're serving the community. And that's where that is. So it's like my how-to or my review videos do a lot better. For a musician, you're serving the community by giving them your music. That's a thing. And that is entertainment, but it's also serving. But like, why is Jason Ritchie's YouTube channel the most popular harmonica YouTube channel?
Jason.
No.
Because he teaches.
Because he teaches you for free. You can pay him for it, and you're gonna always get more in depth than paying. But you're getting something for free. And that's why other artists, even harmonica artists that are big, don't get the views that Jason gets and the consistent views. And that brings up my next point is consistency. This is the hardest part with social media, with all of them.
Yeah.
How do you be consistent? Well, how I'm consistent is I try to set one day a week, whether it's like an hour or two aside. And then I figure out the majority of what I'm going to post for that week in that day. And I schedule it. And you can either there's sites that will schedule it for everything in one place. Like Hootsuite is really good, where you go on there and you can take like 10 posts and you're like, all right, on Monday, this one's going to go out at 1 o'clock. And I need to get back to Kyle's question about times too. I kind of went around that one. So you can be like, all right, Monday at 1 o'clock, this post is going to Facebook, and Monday at 3 o'clock, this post is going to Instagram, and all of that. You can do that on like Hootsuite. There's several, or you can do it manually. So like on Instagram, you can go in there and you can schedule a post. So like I make say I know that my market is really strong around 1 p.m. Whether that's everybody's lunch break or whatever. Maybe I get more views at 1 p.m. on Instagram. So I schedule that post to go out at that time. That way I don't forget, or if I'm busy at 1 o'clock, I don't do it. So the way you can find out, every app has a way to see your analytics. And then there's also other software you can pay for. Try to avoid a lot of paid for stuff. Now they're all great. Like I use for YouTube, I use TubeBuddy because it's like $4 a month or something. TubeBuddy's great because it gives me all my tags. Like it automatically gives me suggested tags for the video, tells me what time to post. But a lot of that same info is already in YouTube for free. Same with Instagram. It tells you what time your audience engages with you. Let me go into insights. Make sure I'm on mine and not the owner page too.
Derek.
Yes.
So the person, it wasn't Woods effect, it's Woozle effect, a guy named Rob LaFerriere.
Robert, yeah, Robert.
He says that first he said it's fighting words of the Mac versus Windows.
Yes, but that's perfect.
But,
the whole reason I did that was because I wanted Mac users to come attack me because they're the worst. And I get more interaction.
But he says there's a huge OBS 28 update coming for Mac, full support for the new M1 and M2 Macs. Mm-hmm. But I've been live streaming on Twitch using Mac with OBS for years.
Yeah. There's a new update that they've been saying that for 3 years for Mac. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
Every update they've had, it's not great. And you can stream to OBS and stuff with a Mac, but it's not nearly as efficient as a PC for that. They're just not made for that. Now, you want to talk about like the new M1 chip. I talk about that in the video of how much I love the M1 chip. We took 200 plugins on a session. And I'm talking like isotope plugins, which are massive computer drains. We had 200 plugins, 32 channels, CPU load went to 2%.
So worth getting the M1 chip
Heck yeah.
for the more money of the device.
Yes. And actually, for everybody watching, watch my video on that. The thumbnail was so great. And I'll talk about thumbnails too. The thumbnail is a picture of a landfill and then a garbage can with my old giant cheese grater Mac sitting on the garbage can, and it says "Dump Mac" with a question mark. Pretty proud of that one. Because my whole goal with that was, who is the most passionate about technology? Mac users. All you Mac users out there. And I love my iPad, and I own, like, in the video I talk about how much I spent updating my Mac. But Mac users will attack PC users so much. In my Andrew Masters video, that's why I did it, because I kept doing like clips that went back to Andrew Masters talking crap about PC. Because I knew if I did this video, I'd get all of these Mac lovers and PC haters to come on there and say how wrong I am and stuff. And all they're doing is giving me free advertising.
So would you say being slightly controversial without being political is be a good thing?
Heck yes. Think about what you like to watch. Like when everybody, well, okay, even if you're talking, or I'm not going to talk politics, but I'm talking like the marketing of politics during the last election. Why did they get so much coverage on both sides? It's because you create all of this negativity. You're not going to see the president of the United States going downtown to a soup kitchen and getting tons and tons of interaction and tons of people. Like, you can't disagree that like somebody going and feeding the homeless is a good idea, right? So who's going to comment? Oh, that's me. Okay, where are the 30 replies that are saying, no, it's not? So put negativity out. Let the other side fight you, and then they keep fighting, and all it's doing is growing your algorithm without spending millions of dollars.
And I agree with you 100%, but there is a line.
Oh, there's definitely a line. I think each person has to decide what that line is for them.
But the killer part about it is it's generationally based, all right? From young to old. I'm in the old group. I know where you're at, and I know where the younger folks are at. There does come a point where you piss people off.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's goodbye, see you, I ain't done with you. And that is where you have to be very
skillful.
Yeah, skilled, thank you. Good
Yeah.
word. And find out where it is, because that aggravation, it's the last thing you want no more, to turn on the news and on your
Right. And I think having values and like knowing what your value set is a really good way to lay out your social media. Like I think you guys don't need to be controversial.
No.
But like Jason getting online and ranting that he got stuck in Canada for 3 days, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't think it was awesome. It really sucked in the moment.
Yeah, all of us Canadians felt sorry for him because we wanted to make it better and put a Band-Aid on it. Yeah. That's who we are.
Right.
But everybody else said, screw Canada, never go over there, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like, okay,
right.
Thanks for nothing.
But what happened with that post? Did you see the interaction on that post? That's what you guys didn't realize.
Yeah.
Look at the interaction on that post. He was very upset in that moment, and it was a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Horrible situation. What did that do for his channel? Got him a lot of attention.
So it's not about necessarily what's being said, but it's the fact something's being said.
Yes.
People love rants.
They love rants.
Rick Beato advertises rants. It's like that's part of his deal.
I know.
I bring up the sword point.
No, I'm just not a fan.
Okay.
That's fine. It's all good. He's great, but it's not fair.
Howard Stern is a perfect example of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, for 100 years.
But you don't have to be the shock jock to also like have a little bit of opposition of growing. I'm trying to think of who's a really good example of this. Okay, well, I just recently did a rant about comedians and the way they hold microphones. Because comedians hold microphones by the cable. Yeah, and so like I put this video out because I was just genuinely angry because I love comedians. But like, I can't sit through a comedy act if they're holding the mic. I can't do it. I'm just on edge of having an anxiety attack. We're audio people. Like, just tell them to hold it up here, get a wireless mic, or get a lapel, or put it on a stand. Don't do that. So I went and I did this, like, what was it, 60-second rant about it. And the video blew up. I got like 30,000 views. It wasn't calling anyone out directly. So then I was like, oh my gosh, people like this. So then what I started doing, I went on all of these comedy sites on like Instagram and stuff, and I started looking at how they post multiple, like Zanies in Nashville, and they're posting all the comedians that are there. They do a little clip. And I took every one of the comedians that had the microphone holding it wrong, and I put it in my stories, and I put, there's another one, and then my stories blew up. I got like 150 new followers because I made a rant that wasn't directly like attacking anyone. It was just like, it annoyed me, and I got fired up about it.
That's like we used to do with like with my James Brown thing, whenever we used to take with the microphone, mic cable, and we used it as a
yeah, you're that guy. You're that guy. That get fired up.
So now I use the wireless now, so I had to kind of change it. I just jump above it.
Right.
I had to change. That's really how that jump split thing came about.
Yeah.
Because it got to the point where, couldn't use the mic thing, or they didn't have a cable long enough or whatever. It's like, okay, what can I do to solve that? It was like, well, I think I can do the jump split there. It's like, perfect. Like, just right to jump up and do that. And got pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's.
What's the first thing you think of when you think of the band The Who? Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean,
it gives me
anxiety. But you see how much
when that thing went flying out there and you got a souvenir, say, I got The Who's damn microphone. I'm laughing. I'm out of here, right? Just never give it back.
Yeah, because what if that sound man didn't get clipped that night because that O-ring is a little bit thick?
No. You look at it, it's well taped.
Tape it. Yeah, we would tape it.
It's taped and taped.
When does this session
It's over at noon, but and I figured we would go long on this because I haven't even like hardly touched the surface on really what we can do. So I'm gonna do some more like lives that are gonna be free throughout probably next week. So anybody's happy that you can attend anytime, you can watch it after the fact as well, or you can just shoot me messages. Like here's the other cool thing. I do this on the side as like a side job, and I charge businesses and like bigger artists $250 an hour to tell them this info that they can find on YouTube. It's all there.
Got a good bucket.
Oh, I don't need your money. You guys give me a job. Yes.
Okay, so I just want to get back on track to where you were a little bit ago. I was making notes. It's you were talking about Instagram, and the last thing was about what time your audience engages with
Yes.
you, and then you were going on from there, but we got off.
Yes. Okay. So with timing, you need to look at like on Instagram, you have an insight button.
Insight or inside?
Insight.
Okay.
SIGHT. It's in the settings menu, and you have to kind of like set up what are you? Are you an artist, musician, whatever. And it's mostly trying to also get you to do their advertising, but you can see the analytics of the post. You can also do that. This is why it's great having our phones out.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
Okay. That's a picture.
Yeah. So let's see this. All right. So I posted this morning. Rochelle and Philippe were at breakfast and they started jamming at breakfast. So I was like, I got to post that to my Instagram. So I did. And of course, people are already loving it. But you can click on the post, like each individual. Yeah, there you go. Hit the like button on that. Give it a heart. So when you're in your post, like once you click your post after the fact and it's up, there's the 3 little dots. And once you hit that 3 little dots, in there it says View Insights. Yeah. I like that. So then when you hit the 3 little dots, that's when you get all of your insights, and it's telling you this post has this many plays, this many likes, this many people sent it to another person, this many people saved it. And that's where you can start diving in and seeing what works. With Instagram, to find out the best time, usually Instagram's pretty general across the board on times. 9 a.m. Central Time until like 10:30 a.m. Then again at 1 p.m. until 3. And then again at night from like 5 to 7. And that number changes almost daily. Like certain days are better. those are things that I can include in that digital packet of where to find that and an easy way to find out what the trend is that day. But they're always trying to change the trend because they want people on all the time. And that's where, with Rochelle talking about TikTok, why TikTok is now the #1 social media platform. I don't like TikTok, but then I do find myself, well, when it first started, when it was just a bunch of little girls dancing, I was like, this is really creepy. Yeah. And the privacy stuff was really bad. It's still not great, but it is better. But now it's starting to evolve into all kinds of things. And the little girls dancing is gone away, which is great. But like as a brand, we decided early on, we didn't want to be a part of that with how they were originally pushing that out. Like I didn't like it. I didn't like the way they did it. But now we have a page. We're not even posting on it because we are still conscious of their security things. But we're having our artists drive it because brands don't do as well on TikTok. Because TikTok is all about like short form video, which is the new hot thing, short form video, whether it's Instagram Reels, TikTok, or YouTube Stories. And this will be like the main last thing that I was going to bring up because it's so important to do short form videos and they're so easy to do.
Is that in your packet?
It will be, yeah. Yep. But with TikTok, it does so well because you're like, oh, 15 seconds to a minute later, you got a new video, new thing. And then, but you go on Instagram and you're just like, oh, picture, oh, I'm bored. It's not holding your attention. That's why Instagram's pushing Reels so hard. And that's why YouTube is pushing Shorts so hard. But TikTok, the problem with TikTok, and like Rochelle said, they own your stuff. It's so hard to make money on TikTok. We've got a harmonica player that I signed named Isaac Corbett. Isaac got hacked on TikTok. They hacked him and then they changed his channel name. And he had a video that had over 4 million views of him playing harmonica with a drummer. And they took it down, they deleted it. And we're trying to hold him ransom for money. Oh my God. But he got it back. He changed the password fast enough, but they messed it up for a whole month. His name was like something weird. And they took down all of his big videos. So he had to kind of rebuild. But Isaac is on here and he is doing, let's see, he's got some great, and Jared Goldweber's doing an amazing job on TikTok too. I like that. So Isaac's at 138,000 subscribers on TikTok. Like that's great. He's making like no money on TikTok at all. I've got 1,700 subscribers on my YouTube, and I make almost $1,000 a month between YouTube and affiliate marketing. So the other part of that affiliate marketing, so yes, you do need TikTok, but when you do the TikTok stuff, make one video and post it to all of them. Post it to YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok all at the same time. Same video.
What would you say the length of that video should be? Like, don't go over X amount.
Don't go over 60 seconds.
Okay.
Usually that, like, if you can keep it at 15, great. If it's relevant to go 15 to 60, do it. But if it's not, like, if it's just like Isaac will do the Honer harmonica lick of the week, and he gets on there and he just does like 30 seconds of him playing a lick. He shows off Honer. Well, if I put that up on the Honer page, it's an advertisement, right?
Right.
If he does it, people are like, oh, well, yeah, he's a Honer artist, but like, that's cool. That's a guy playing it. That's what it used to be when you guys played on stage. And me too. Like, when I was in 7th grade, I got a $8,000 Yamaha recording custom drum kit because Dave Weckl, Steve Gadd, and Carter Beaufort played a recording custom. That's why I did it. That was an influencer then. How many people now are going out and buying a harmonica because they see someone on stage playing harmonica? There's a few people that do. Like Rochelle's great with selling harmonicas because she's getting girls interested in harmonica. It's incredible. I love it. She's like my favorite. She's so good. But the person that is selling more harmonicas in the world right now than anyone else is Chris Jansen, by far. Exactly. Chris Jansen is a country singer, and he's gotten big, and he plays harmonica. And Chris is great. He is just such an amazing brand advocate for Honer. He loves it. His whole story was that he moved to Nashville and was living in his car, and he was just begging for a gig at Tootsie's. They finally gave him a shot. He got a couple shifts playing at Tootsie's, got enough money from tips one day to go eat at Cracker Barrel. He hadn't had a good meal since he moved there for like 3 weeks and was living in his car. Drives to Cracker Barrel. By the time he gets out there, because Nashville traffic, he didn't have enough time to eat, but he walked in while he was waiting for his table, and sitting right there at the front counter was a blues band. And he's like, oh man, it's like $10. I got that. Cool. So he bought that blues band. On the way down to his next gig at Tootsie's, he learned how to play Piano Man. And that night he tripled his tips. And so then he learned to play a couple more tunes. And then he kind of learned how to play a little bit. And then he got a record deal. And then he started to blow up. And then he became a songwriter for other people. So not only does he have his own career, he's also a songwriter, has a bunch of hit songs for like Tim McGraw and Low Cash and several different bands. And Chris doesn't even have harmonica lead on a lot of his album stuff. He does on like some of the B-side because the label doesn't want harmonica on there.
What's wrong with them?
Well, lots. But here's what's crazy. You would think, well, then Derek, what does it matter? Because he does it at live shows. And what he does is he brings kids up on stage at every show, gives them a harmonica, plays it with them. Everybody that is a fan of Chris Janson, even though they listen to him on the radio, they know him as the harmonica player because he's doing it live so prominent that everyone sees it's the part of his show, and it sets him apart because no one else is doing it. And he's an okay player, but like everybody in this room is better. Everybody in this room is better. Like he's got like 3 good licks.
What you just said was the important part where you draw that line.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's bringing up children on his stage. And he's showing empathy and he's showing morality.
Yep.
And them two things still sell. It's not all that bullshit we talked about earlier.
Right.
So I'm trying to.
And that's where your line is.
That's
where your line
exactly.
is. And Chris is very much like country boy, America proud, support our troops, support our first responders kind of guy. And he doesn't get too controversial with that. Like, he has a stance and that's what it is. But like his thing is getting those kids on. Now he's got an 8-year-old son, Jesse, and Jesse comes out every show and sings one of the songs. And now it's the crowd favorite. He just sang in front of 50,000 people, 8 years old. Walks out there and does the Conor McGregor strut and walks out on stage and does that. Like,
Give him a whale on the 5 and you got 7,000 more people buying the whole
and he loves the harmonica and he loves drums and we do all this stuff. But like, so you're like, wow, how much does Hohner pay to have Chris Janson do all this stuff? I've never given Chris Janson a dime to do any of this because we built a relationship. Because Chris's career was made because of that Hohner harmonica. And there was a time that he got turned down from Hohner as an artist. So like, Fender gave him some harps and stuff and whatever. And then I started and I was like, why is this guy not on the roster? And it was like, it's pop country. No, it's not going to be viable. Like, he's at the Grand Ole Opry 2 nights a week playing and stuff, and he plays these festivals. And I get it because we've got like Kix Brooks is one of our artists, and he's great. He'll do anything for us. But like let's be honest, like people aren't watching Brooks and Dunn and going buying a harmonica because Kix played it 2 songs a night. It's great for marketing for us to send the message, but that's not selling. But Chris does it, and we see sales go up in that town. Every time Chris plays in the town, we see sales go up. Whether it's through the local stores, usually it's online though. Usually like we can see a lot of sales went to Albuquerque or wherever he was that night. And that's a really great thing. Because I get people like, well, we got millions of players on the roster that are 10 times better. Yeah, well, he sells more harmonicas than them. And that's what it is. And he's getting people that would have probably never picked up a harmonica to pick up a harmonica. And that's what's important. But that's also what everybody here can do.
At the risk of destroying the general focus, I would like to know your thoughts on email marketing.
Email marketing is incredible, and that's a great question. I could do just like a whole day on just email marketing. Because email marketing, there's a thing that's called funneling, and this is where you guys can also do. And so as we're talking about that, look up Amazon affiliate programs, and also look up lessonsquad.com. Lesson Squad's a really cool site that we've partnered with, and you can teach lessons on it on a virtual platform. That's cool, but like I don't even do that. If you go on my Lesson Squad page, you'll see all of the gear I recommend. And then you can click on that piece of gear and it links to like Sweetwater, Guitar Center, Sam Ash, Z-Sound, whatever, wherever they have stock. And you'd be like, oh, Derek recommends this from, and Sweetwater has it. I know I got a Sweetwater rep. So you click that link, it just takes you to Sweetwater to that. If you put that in your cart and buy it, and anything that you put in your cart, even if I didn't recommend it from that first click, I make 5% on. So like Ronnie Shellis is great. Ronnie's always been good at social media, but when Ronnie does like pentaharp things or whatever, and he puts his link for Lesson Squad and people go and buy it, he makes money. He does all right with that.
Lesson Squad?
Yes, lessonsquad.com.
Is Ronnie on Lesson Squad?
Yeah, and he's not teaching lessons on there. He's just using it for the gear referral. And that's what most people that are on there are doing it for. That's their main bread and butter. The lessons are cool, but like I don't use it for the lessons. I use
he's
it.
posting product reviews.
Yeah, I'll show you guys.
What's the
Mine
best
is.
way to get people to find that?
I put the links in everything. Also, having a centralized place for your links, having a website at this point for artists is almost pointless. Like I would not invest more than $10 a month in a website, if that. I don't have one. I have a landing page now that sends you to my link tree. Link tree is free. So if you go in, if you type in thederekfrank.com, it sends you the link tree.
How do you spell that? L-I-N-G?
LK. Yeah, LK.
I just set one up yesterday.
Yeah.
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 On that note, like, does Linktree provide you with like a free QR code kind of deal?
Yeah, I think you can get a free QR code through them. So Linktree is linktr.ee. And they have an app as well. Yes.
TR.E?
Yeah. linktr.ee, like Edgar. And those are free. They have a paid thing. You don't need that. It's not necessary at all. So if you type in thederekfrank.com, it just takes you straight to there. Because for me to have thederekfrank.com and have it send you over there, it costs me like $2 a month versus 10, 20, 30, 100 to host a website that no one's going to go on.
So what I did last week actually is I got these NFT cards.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because
And I paid like, for 10 of them, I paid $180. So then I give them to my family members. So when they go to a place, all you have to do is you just take it and you tap it on your phone and it goes to your Linktree. And you pull up Linktree and they have your Facebook, your Instagram. If you have a website, then there's an option for your tips. And then on the back, I put.
I wish you would have been in here before that. So I do have a Popple card, and there's like Dot and Popple. There's several companies. This Popple's cool. Like the card has an NFC chip, so you just tap on your phone, and I've showed several people here that you do that, and it pops up, and like it has all of my links. It has my phone number, my email, and you just hit save it, and it's all saved. You have everything, rather than like, oh yeah, go to my YouTube, go to my Instagram, do that.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, I'll get to that. So this is Popple, POPL. But they're like $15 for a card, and then yeah, about right around that $15 to $20 range. But you can do this way cheaper. You can go on Amazon and buy just NFC stickers that aren't programmed, they don't have an app attached to them, and you can get like 30 of them for like $10. Yes. NFC. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so with
stickers, you said?
yes,
Okay.
and with those, they don't have an app attached to them. You just get a free app on your phone, and I'll put that in the packet. There's several free apps that do it, and all you do is when you like tap it on your phone and the app comes up and you tell it, oh, see, it just pops because I got too close to my phone, and it tells the chip, you program the chip to tell phones what to do. So like you can put your website, you can have someone else's website, you can have it do anything. I've got them in my basement where if I tap a certain area, it turns the lights green or red or blue or however you can program to do anything. But on a really simple part, you get those NFC stickers, and rather than spend $15 per card, then you can just have those stickers and stick them to stuff or put them on like a little card that costs $1 or like $1 for a pack of them, and just have people tap them.
I'll put it on my old cards.
Yeah.
So is this like a business card that you hand out?
I don't even hand it out. So yeah, so
you got their phone. You can
yeah, so when you got this, you just tap your phone,
Yes.
and you get a prompt on there, and you just click it, and so when it opens up, it has all of my contacts, has my picture, It has Exchange Contact. It has my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, Linktree, SoundCloud, Lesson Squad, contact card, my email, and you can just save that with hitting one button. It's really, really useful.
And you put all those in there. Right?
Yeah, and you can choose what you put in there. Like if you don't want your phone number in there, you don't have to do that. That's all good.
Where do we get those packets you're talking about?
I will email them to people, so I'll give everybody my email address and I can send them out.
I've got your email address, right? Because I've got your card.
Yeah, and we'll do that at the end. I'll get whatever contacts you guys need from me. We'll get that.
So if you tap my phone, I got you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so back to this fellow over here, the Lafayette guy that you were talking about. He said a couple of things. One was kind of funny. He wanted to remind you about the time when Jason Ritchie, the guy, said that overboards weren't physically possible, and Jason brought him into the studio and did a live thing where he showed him.
Yep.
But he wanted to know if the digital packets will make it out to the virtual attendees.
Totally.
Yes?
I
No?
can definitely get that. I guess I can work with SPAH and just have like a link as well that you
Okay.
guys can probably post on like Facebook or email blast or whatever is good. So and that'll be a good way to partner together to.
I know Rob real well. He's another Canadian, so that's why.
Great.
Two more things.
Yes.
Is, he loves Jared's stuff on TikTok.
Yes, I love Jared on TikTok.
And he asks, is there value in creating original audio for TikTok and trying to get others to do a duet or use your audio?
So if you do want to make money on TikTok, it's having original audio or having like your albums or your music linked to TikTok. There's a friend of mine owns a massive company that's blown up in the last 2 years called Songfluencer. And what they do is they get influencers to use your music in their backgrounds. Now that's a paid service, but there's ways, try to get people to use your songs. Like if you've got your songs, like I think I've got some that are on TikTok that I've just done with CD Baby and you can use it. Try to get people to do that.
Rob is asking these questions. He has his own business teaching and fixing harmonicas and doing stuff like that. But he also gets involved with these other groups where people get together. There used to be a gamers channel where they all got together and all of a sudden they started talking music and all these musicians came on board.
Yep.
But they were sharing their music through that and that blew up all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
they had 1 million people.
And I think sub-niche markets are a great thing. And when I say sub-niche, I mean like
LaFerriere in Canada. Rob LaFerriere.
Rob LaFerriere.
But just real quick, you still have to be registered with like ASCAP or BMI.
You don't have to.
Really? Like if you play, say I record
You should be,
right?
but-
That's how you make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And also there's a new service out there that is called MLC, the MLC, like monkey, lion, cat. The MLC is out of Nashville. It's a new thing and it's government funded. It's a nonprofit. And what they do is the government gave them all this money when, they had that ruling against Spotify and all these people that they had to pay, even though they still didn't do it because Spotify is the devil. I've done those rants too, and I will always do those. That's a whole other thing. But what the MLC does is they basically do what BMI and ASCAP do, but they do it as a nonprofit, so you get way more of your money, and they go searching for everything, and the government funds them. And if they don't do it, the government doesn't fund them. So they work harder than BMI and ASCAP. Because why is BMI? I'm a BMI member. I love it. They send me my $25 check every couple months. But why is somebody at BMI that's making $20 an hour going to dig to make me $20 to $25? They're not. They don't care. I wouldn't care either if I worked there. Like, I'm not going to waste my time doing that. So it's not a priority to them. But you go to like the MLC, they'll do all that. It's the same thing, but you're getting more money out of it. And they're a nonprofit, and they're great. They're really great people. Yeah. Hey, I think we got like 5 minutes left. I know. I wish I could just do this for like hours and hours because there's still so much I would love to do. So a big takeaway though that I danced around is just post consistent content. And if you're like, I don't know what to post, what if people don't like it? Who cares? Because they can't see it if it's not out there. And that's what Gary Vee talks about. Gary Vee's like, just hit record. Most of his shorts and stuff, still with millions of dollars. He has hundreds and thousands of people who work for him. I mean, multi-millionaire. His videos are horrible. Like his shorts and stuff, the quality's terrible. Because he's like, they're coming here to see what you have to talk about. Now, at a point like with my produced videos on YouTube, yeah, you got to level up a little bit. But the most important thing is that they can hear you. If the audio is bad, people are going to not watch at all. Video quality can be bad. Make sure the audio quality is good. But make sure you're posting those short form videos. And I know it's like, I get this way too. Because I'm not as good of an advocate on my own stuff of like being consistent, because I do it for 5 brands plus another 10 other brands and artists on the side. So I'm like constantly taking care of everybody else's stuff. So like mine's not nearly as important because I have the work coming in. But I say at least 1 short form a day, if not 2. If they don't get views, like if you have one that hits, like I've got some that like hit and they'll get thousands of views, and I got some that have like 10. Who cares? The number does not matter. Just keep that content going. Yeah.
When you say like consistent posting, should that just be on like one platform, or should like
all of them?
All of them.
Yeah, and it's tough, but that's where I said like a Hootsuite or schedule. Like if you set aside like 2 hours on a Sunday and schedule all your posts for the week, and then the rest of the week they just go out. And if you have something cool that happens, by all means, post it still, and keep the other posts going, or just schedule it for a different time. If it's in the moment and relative, do it. But yeah, consistency is huge. At least 1, if not 2 short forms a day. And try to do like a main post once a day.
Hootsuite, what was the other one?
I don't know what some of the other ones are. Let me see.
How do you spell Hootsuite?
Let's see.
H-O-O-T.
And sweet,
Yeah.
Hootsuite, actually.
Yeah, no E after Hoot.
What is that?
It's like a scheduling, like a social media managing thing. I think they have a free version, and then they definitely have paid versions. They all want you to do the paid version. Oh, TubeBuddy was the one I said. But that's just for YouTube. And honestly, like, unless your channel's doing fairly well, I don't think it's necessarily worth it. Yeah.
So a friend of mine that we play pretty consistently on Monday night, just at his little Bad Boys Club.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cool looking room. He's got a great neon sign in the back. I've proposed to him, and I've talked to a video guy who's interested in maybe coming over on Monday nights and doing like an hour show. So, but should we do like a little the little short things you're talking about and point at that?
Sure.
The other question is when Richard asked about email.
Oh yeah, we got
Constant Contact, is that a good program?
Yeah.
So you pay them.
Yes.
Be careful with these. So, and again, you guys probably aren't going
Is
to.
that the best one right now?
I use MailChimp still. I love MailChimp for that. And before we go, I know, and we can go. I mean, I don't think there's anything after this, so I'm happy to go over if you guys want to say. But if you need to go, by all means, go. But be careful with like any of these platforms, especially with what your stance is. Like maybe you do want to talk about politics. That's okay. Like whatever you stand for, that's great. But realize that in these terms of service, they can delete you so fast, it's not even funny. I have a friend that she had one of the biggest natural health podcasts in the world. She is all about natural health and just, eating right, good diet, sleep, all that kind of stuff. And she was just posting on Instagram the other day with what's her name? Tony Lauren or whatever her name is, whatever the girl. Anyways, that has millions of followers. So she had this amazing thing going on. Her email marketing, it was amazing. And she put out a podcast with a guy, I think he was a doctor, but he was talking about alternatives to modern medicine of better diet. This will help. And the platform that she used for her email marketing that made her living canceled her. Because
Owned
they
by
said,
a pharmaceutical company? Or?
No, well, and I don't know,
They said something about a vaccine or alternatives.
Yeah, well, and she didn't even talk about vaccine, but yeah, they don't want alternatives, and they're like, what their excuse was that you're not a medical professional, you cannot give medical advice on our platform. Now, this is a service she pays for, thousands of dollars a month she paid for, and all out of she got nothing back. She lost all of her email list. She lost everything that had to do with that. Now, luckily, she backed up her email list, but she lost all of her product funneling because it was through there. So with product funneling, I'll do this real quick. If you're a teacher, come up with some courses to have people, because it's great to have online stuff and do one-on-one lessons, but if you make a course one time it's evergreen, so people can constantly buy it and have it set like $27 is a great price point. It's an impulse buy at that point. Thank you for coming. Like $27 for a course, anywhere from $27 to $97 is the hot point for a single course. So what you do with that, it's like, oh, cool. So somebody can buy that and they can just go online anytime they want and watch it, right? Think of like David Barrett with that. So you pay your fee and you got this access to this stuff. Well, with like, say Caesar wants to teach people some stage presence and you make a one-time course that maybe it's like a couple hours that you talk about different things. And you've only shot this once and edited it once, okay? But you sell it constantly for $27 or whatever, constantly. Then what you do is you get these people on your email list and you give out an email, whether it's once a week, every other week, once a month, whatever you want to do, whatever's good for you. No more than once a week for emails. Yeah. And send that and like, hey, this is my course. If you liked that course, you should check out this course. That's like 3 segments. This course is $1,000. Or you can schedule like your personal things with me. I'll do a personal one-on-one. And if you want to start that package, it's $3,000, whatever, called funneling. Start them here, broad, and you get them down. Like, okay, now they're invested in, $27. That's nothing. That's a very easy investment. You can spend that in coffee in a week, easily, 2 days. And you just keep funneling that stuff into the bigger picture to make yourself more income. Because the more you grow on all of these socials, the more you can use that affiliate marketing, those links. And if you're making just a little bit at a time, you get to a point where I've got an artist right now that he's making $10,000 a month on Twitch and YouTube just in the affiliate marketing. That's not even counting his AdSense, just from people buying products that he's recommending.
I might add just a small thing to that from my old days when I was actually working. A funnel was always a salesperson's way of finding all of those opportunities. Mm-hmm. And they funneled it down to making a monthly statement that this is what they would do. They committed to that in that respect. So when your funnel is full of people coming from all over the place, every one of those people that commits is a sale for you, and they said, I'll do it. So it might be that $1,000, it might be the $1,500, it might be the big ticket that you're looking for. But you're counting on the $27 one every month from everybody. Right. And that builds and builds and builds. But those big ones come, and that's your bonus for actually putting it online. And we used to hold our salespeople accountable to that number that they said they'd bring in. And they went real hard on those people to bring that number in because that was our growth as a company. So growth is always the part of it that you can't forget. You can't just throw it out there and say, oh, everybody will buy it for the next 10 years. You should have, as Caesar said, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Keep bringing that every 6 months to a year, freshen it up. Maybe country and western this time, maybe blues the next time, maybe the next thing. But you need to, people, even though they're getting your email, that doesn't make them come back and buy it 6 months from now because they've already done that one. What's next? And so if you come up with a new one consistently, that funnel gets bigger, but that bottom keeps coming out of it. Yeah. And that's what you want, is you want dripping everyday money. That's how
and never be afraid of starting out small. Like, I just don't, I have no followers. Okay. So you have none, but say, it's easy to get 100 followers. You can get all your friends and family. Everybody in this room could get 5 people that would give them $5 a month. That's easy to do do one thing. You've got that one and that'll be you.
Yeah. If you want to see a really good example, look up guitarcontrol.com. Okay. It has just mushroomed.
Yeah. And that's what, Jason has like his Patreon is another thing you can do where people invest in you like $1 a month or $5 or $20 or whatever. And you get different levels of access to that person. Same with lessons. Like Dennis Grunling just launched his own lesson thing and his own platform. That's what it is. Like Dennis is at the point where he doesn't need to go on the road anymore, really. Like,
how do you spell Patreon?
Patreon. Yeah.
So how do you set up the affiliate marketing? Do you contact these companies and say?
Yeah, I'll have like the links and stuff to get those, but usually like with Amazon, you just like Amazon affiliate, and you just fill out the documents, and then they're like, you're accepted. Everybody's accepted because they just want people to recommend products.
Yeah, I gotta go. So what is your email that
TheDerekFrank@gmail.com.
If I can help.
pderryfrank at Gmail.
Yes, I'm more than happy to help. Anything you guys need.
Yeah.
SPA members are free.
Thank you so much.
Thank
That was
you.
excellent.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
Great questions too. Yes, since we're over time, I guess I'll ask any other like last questions, and then if you have more stuff that you need help with as you start implementing this, like I said, email me, message me, or whatever. But any last questions?
Thank you so much. It was so great.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Bravo, man, bravo.